Still a mystery. I would begin with something else, but it just kind of it's on my mind now. Thank you, Masters, for pointing this out to me. It's now bugging me. Um, the worst part of Muppets Now.
Yes.
I mean, okay. Have you seen the one from yesterday?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, the one
I forgot.
Let's say the one from yesterday was better. But as much as Masters and I are unabashed and all forgiving, mostly all forgiving because evil Kermit should never be Kermit. Muppets fans. It has come
That's
to
okay. He's not in most of it.
That's another thing I'm kind of actually not happy with.
Yeah.
Muppets Now, as great as it is, we've identified at least two things not big fans of. Number one, there needs to be more Kermit, even if it's evil Kermit. I mean, if you're going to do a big reveal where real Kermit comes back at some point, we need to have enough, interaction with evil Kermit so that we can feel like it's paid off and justified, right?
So now you're rooting for this to actually be evil Kermit?
Yes.
So that we can have a reveal that it's actual evil Kermit and then real Kermit spin off somewhere?
I want this to be exactly like Muppets Most Wanted, but like just playing out over the course of a season of episodes.
That's not going to happen. That is terrible wishful thinking.
Don't crush my dreams, man. I have high aspirations. So that's number one.
You have high something.
I'm not high, I promise. Second thing is we have identified a bit of an issue as regards to Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and specifically his treatment of Beaker. Now, as I said, in the most recent episode, the one from September the 4th, it's a lot less. In fact, it actually is like not really existent in terms, because they actually just, both of them kind of teamed up, and I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, Beaker doesn't have anything bad happen
Spoilers.
to him. Okay. Well, he does, but not like as bad as things could be. And it's not been like the way that things have been up until this point. Because we kind of identified, Masters pointed it out to me, and I'm like, oh, that's the thing that didn't feel right about these, scientific excursions that they've been having. Like, bad things happening to Beaker is like the whole slapstick part of that bit. Like, it's just understood that bad things are going to happen to Beaker. That's what his point. That's the whole purpose of him being there, is to have bad things happen to him. Sorry, Beaker, but this is how it goes. They've altered that considerably to the point where, like, bad stuff is happening to him intentionally. Like, Dr. Honeydew is not just, beating him up and launching him out of a cannon and everything else like that, but like things like personal items, things that have a lot of meaning to him, are being rampantly destroyed in front of him, and it's like it's probably crossing the line of emotional abuse, at least towards a Muppet, as much as a non-real character Muppet can experience emotional abuse. It's pretty up there. And I don't think I'm a fan of that. I think I have no problem with the slapstick humor aspect of like, okay, he's trying to help, he bumbles, he makes a mistake, he lights himself on fire, he irradiates himself, he electrocutes himself, he smashes himself.
He gets stuck in the gears.
He smashes himself on a hydraulic press. All those things are just like, okay, those happen, it's slapstick, it's funny. But when it's like, oh, we're going to destroy all of your most prized possessions with a hydraulic press, hope you're okay with that. Yeah, not really cool. Not cool. Not at all.
Yeah.
And like that's
your second place science trophy from 5 years ago.
Here's their plaque that says best lab assistant ever. Let's destroy that too. There's a problem here. And like even the episode where they have the like the Alexa clone thing.
Yep.
Where they're lighting stuff on fire. It's like Dr. Honeydew is like going out of his way to make Beaker feel less than this AI replacement. And
same thing with the TV.
Yeah, and the TV too.
Or was it a TV or was it an oscilloscope? Or no, it was an old computer.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
But yeah, it's like we'll just replace Beaker. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just get rid of him. It's like no. He's an important part of the Muppets lore. He's a more important part of the Muppets family. Like
he's more important than IT Steve.
Yes, that is true. Much more important than IT Steve. Yeah. There's a couple issues with that episode. You haven't seen the most recent episode. I can't tell you that. Darn it! Come on, Masters.
Sorry, I didn't wake up till 10:30 yesterday.
There has still been more than 24 hours.
I was 4 hours late for work. I wasn't thinking about anything yesterday.
There is 24 hours between 10:30 yesterday morning and this morning, plus a whole bunch more on top of that. Like, you had time. 35 hours. You could make it.
I also started on a new Minecraft server. And I streamed today. Did you stream today?
No, I did not. Then. I went and played golf, and I went to a graduation party that should have happened in June. Lockdown fun. Yay. I say, okay, this is really bugging me too. So I went to this graduation party today. Good kid, he's been in my Sunday school class like since he was old enough to be in my Sunday school class. Nice family, everything else like that. No problem there. Should have happened back in July or June or July or something, because I go to the store to like get him a graduation card and it's like, oh, there are none because we're out of graduation season. But despite the fact that people have just been having progressively put off more and more and more these graduation parties and everything else that was supposed to be happening, can we just get back to regular life at this point? I mean, I know that at this point saying that is a political statement, but I don't care. I'm just done. I'm just so done. I just want life to be normal. Like if life has to be normal, if the only way I can get life to be normal at this point is to go someplace where none of this is a factor, like in the middle of the woods, I'm almost the point of just being very open to that idea. I'm almost open to that idea.
That wouldn't be life as normal then.
Well, it would
actually be the opposite of life as normal.
I mean, it would remove all of the social constraints and things like that are not happening right now. All the stuff that are like making life difficult, because people are trying to carry on with normal life and they're not able to, and so they're not being able to go on. This is really an introverted position. I'm just going to put this out here. So the introverted me does not like to attend social functions in the first place. Social functions therefore have like their special little highly walled off little area where they exist in my life. I have to go to them because I have to live in this world and I have to be around people because it's just how things work. But those things have not been able to be accomplished in the last very long time because of XYZ, name off all the different reasons why not for the last several months. Now, all these things have been broken out of that little box, which I very happily put them into for the entirety of my life. And I am now being forced to interact with people, I know, terrible as it is, in a much more broad, general, we'll do it when we can kind of sense. And I don't operate well in that space. I barely enjoy being around people in the first place, much less so when it's...
I have to psych myself up to be around people. You got to give me advance notice.
Exactly. This happened. So this happened 2 weeks in a row. So I'm helping out at this new church, and 2 weeks ago, my new pastor comes up to me and he says, "Hey, we're going to have a." This comes up to me on Thursday, and he says, "Hey, we're going to be having this leadership meeting. We're going to get all the church leaders together, and we're going to have a meal, and socially distanced meals, so everyone's not freaking out about it. But like, we're going to get together, we're going to plan." I'm like, "Great. When is that going to be?" "Tomorrow night." "That's great. I'll catch the next one." What do you mean you'll catch the next one? I mean, I've already got stuff planned for that night. I can't back out of it. It's I need advance notice on this kind of stuff by at least 3 days so that if I have something else going on, I can reasonably back out of it. Oh, okay. So we get to the next week, and my pastor comes up to me again on Friday this time. He says, hey, on Saturday we have this another one of those things that just kind of got shifted around, but there's a guy getting married who was supposed to be getting married next May, but because of, again, COVID complications, It got moved up a lot of months. And so rather than getting married like in May, he got married today. And I was invited to the ceremony, but I was invited to like the quote unquote bachelor party. It's a church group. There's not a lot of, we went and got barbecue. That's what the bachelor party was. And I made a bad joke, which I think I told last time, which I'm still happy about. But again, he comes up to me on Friday and he's like, okay, we're doing this tomorrow at noon. I'm like, that's great. I'll have to catch the next one. Because last week I'm like, I already have plans to go and do this, that, and the other. And he goes, oh, okay. And then he calls me back like an hour later and says, hey, can you break that stuff? Because I like really want you to be there because we don't want to we want to, like, okay, fine. So I rescheduled all my plans for this week. And on Thursday, he comes up to me again and he's like, hey, so I want to get together with you and talk out a couple things. I'm like, great. When? He says, I'll let you know. I feel like there's some communication that's not happening here.
On his side. It's like this is. Are you not noticing the pattern here?
Well, I've even specifically said I need to have notice. Like, I can't just be like drop everything and be there. As much as I like to talk myself into the idea that I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person, I am not. I am learning that so quickly. It's like that was one of the things that was really great about going to Disney with you. Like, you had everything regimented out. You knew exactly where we were going. We knew exactly when we were doing it. You knew how we were going to get tickets to the next thing before we had a chance to get there. And it's like, it was just great. I had nothing to do. It was awesome. Here, I'm the one who has to like plan all this crap out. And I'm like, I like this. If I'm going to put the plan in place, I want to stick to the plan. If you want to be a part of the plan, you have to get in your notice fast enough so that I don't plan something else there because I got a lot of moving parts going on and they're all competing for that space. Help. Help me help you. Come on. It was like today we're sitting at the graduation party. A guy comes up to me and says, hey, we haven't hung out very much. We should hang out sometime. I said, great. Let's plan that right now. What? I said, if we don't plan it, it's not going to happen. Oh, okay. And so we worked out. He's like, okay, and being very upfront, he's like, okay, let's do it. And so we just set a time, we set a place, and we're going. And it's going to happen. No questions, no reneges. We're just going. It's like,
on your side at least.
Well, yeah. If he's not there, I'm going to have me some fantastic sushi, and he can be sad without it. But because I will eat in a restaurant by myself. I don't care.
That's one thing I don't like doing. I don't like going to sit down restaurants by myself.
I mean, you do look a little bit. You are a little bit out of place, but I don't care. If the food's good enough.
The last time I went to a sit down restaurant by myself intentionally, I got up to the thing where they ask you how many people it is, and she didn't even ask. She just grabbed a menu and started walking to a table. I was just like, I mean, ouch, but yes.
Did I ever tell you the story about my blind date?
No.
Oh. It's worse than that. So I have gone on one blind date my entire life, and that's all I believe I shall ever go on because, number one,
I will never go on a blind date.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. I don't know who came up with this idea in the first place to have this idea of blind dates, but let me just put it out there. It's a bad idea. It doesn't help either person. It's really awkward, especially if the person who's setting it up insists on being there. Like, this is bullcrap. And it also gets worse when what happens to me happens in the situation, which probably doesn't happen all that much, but it really doesn't help the situation. So, there's this couple that I know, and they're meddling people, like a lot of people that I know, and they're like, "Oh, we found the perfect girl for you. We need to get together, and you're gonna meet her, and you're just gonna see her, and you're gonna fall in love at first sight, and she likes this, and you likes this."
I kind of have been on a blind date before.
Uh-oh.
Though we kind of talked via text for like the week in advance.
Okay.
So it wasn't 100% a blind date, but it didn't end well either.
Yeah. I mean, I had another experience where I was messaging with a girl for about a year, and then we finally met up, and 5 minutes of being exposed to me was enough for her to decide she wanted nothing to do with me ever again. That's a whole other story. But so this particular blind date, as it was set up, and so we're going to be. I mean, this family was clearly just kind of also in it to make it into their own date night kind of thing. They said, we're going to meet at Olive Garden. I'm like, I wouldn't meet like a person I didn't like or want to like at Olive Garden. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, sure. But like now, like the breadsticks aren't even that good anymore. I mean, let's just be honest. And so, whatever. And so, but Olive Garden apparently is their favorite place. And so we're going to meet up at this Olive Garden at 1:00 in the afternoon. It'll be on a Saturday. Huh?
Better than Apple.
It is better than Applebee's, yes. And so they're like, well, we're going to meet up and it's going to be awesome. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. Well, I did care, but I didn't care. I was in that place where I was like, I don't know if I actually want to date people right now. If I don't want to, this was like a little less than a year after I found it out that the girl I'd been dating for 3 years had started cheating on me and we broke up. A little less than a year after that. Not really the greatest. I mean, it was kind of raw still. And so we schedule, again, if we schedule it, I'm going to be there at that time, no questions. So at 1:00.
I'm usually early.
I know. So 1:00.
You're not.
Well, this is true. But I'm always there. Except for that one time. Unless something, extraneous, unexpected that I can't control happens. Which should be happening less and less and less, which is awesome. Especially now that I have considerably less contact. I mean, never mind. That's going down a rabbit trail. We'll get there. Welcome to the world's worst podcast, everybody.
Yes. Officially renamed.
Officially renamed.
Aptly renamed.
Probably long overdue in being renamed to that, but anyway, so I show up to this Olive Garden at 1:00. I walk in, I see the hostess standing behind the counter, and she says, "How many will be in your party, sir?" I said, "Well, I'm here on, I think I was actually a couple minutes early." I said, "I'm here early. The rest of my party, there's 3 more people. They should be here soon." "Okay, let me get you at a table." So she seats me in this little booth area, which is fine. They have nice big booths. It's a nice room. She says, "Can I get you anything?" I said, "I'll just have a water while I'm waiting. They should be here very soon." Spoiler alert, they were not there very soon. I'm into like my 3rd glass of water, and I'm like, where are these people? So I like look at my phone, and it's like 1:45, and I'm like, this is crazy. What's wrong with these people? So I like text them like, "Hey, are you coming? Should I like bail out? What's going on?" And they're like, no. We just got caught in some traffic. We'll be there soon. Okay. She comes by. She says, "Hey,
that's some traffic right there."
We have not begun. We have not begun. And so this waitress comes by and she says, "Hey, just checking on you, making sure." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just texted them. They said they're going to be here soon. I guess I'll have some. You want to get an appetizer?" No. I want to make sure that I'm eating with this group of people. They should be here soon. Another 30 minutes goes by. Nothing. I text him again, and this is when have you ever met those people who like text you something and then they text you something that directly contradicts the thing that they text you the first time, or just tells you, yeah. So I text him the second time like, "Hey, where are you? What's going on?" "Oh, don't worry, we're about to leave the house." Now I'm worried Because I'm like, I'm doing the math in my head from like where they live to where I am. I'm like, that's going to be another half an hour. I'm like, and so I like texted back, you're just now leaving the house? I thought you were supposed to be here like an hour and 15 minutes ago, right? Oh, no. Well, don't worry. We'll be there in 10 minutes. No problem. I says, okay. Another half an hour goes by. The lady comes by and she says, sir, I'm sorry. I need this table for something else. Can I move you someplace else? I'm like, yes. And so I moved over to this other table, and every time she comes back, she's coming back about every 20 minutes. Very great waitress. I left her a fantastic tip because she deserved it.
Yes.
And so I
was about to say, I hope you left her a good tip.
I left her a great tip.
Taking some real estate up. Buddy.
That's the second best. It was the second best tip I've ever given to any waitress ever. We may talk about the first one some other time. Also,
not on this podcast, I'm guessing.
We can talk about it on this podcast. Also, memorable experience, but for a totally different reason. So, I get moved to this other table, and like you could see, like she was feeling bad for me because I've been sitting there now for like 2 hours, nothing. And so, like I said, she keeps coming back. She keeps asking, like, hey, can I get you anything? Can I get you anything? I'm like, no, they got to be coming. Finally, after like 2 hours and 15 minutes of waiting there, she comes back with the little bread basket and she puts it down. And she says, I just feel so bad. Please just take it. And she walks away, like shaking her head. And I open it up and there's one breadstick inside. And I don't know why, but that just struck me. Like, it's so funny because I must have looked like the most lonely loser person you could ever imagine on earth. And she brings me one breadstick. And it was just
what? Why?
Because I'd been sitting there for like 2.5 hours and nobody was coming for me. And she's just like, this poor guy, he was coming here for, like, in her mind, she was been thinking, like, he's coming here for a date. There's this person, he's been totally blown off. He's desperate, he's lonely, whatever the case might be. And he's just, there's no good thing happening.
The guys in the back have a poll going for when you're going to start breaking down. That's the kind of scenario we're looking at here.
There's like a betting pool in the back. They're like, okay, if they don't come by the hour 3, he's going to just like, start cutting his wrist with a butter knife or something. Just well, finally, after 2 hours and 45 minutes, my friends finally turn up. And exactly what you might have. Girl? Oh, she was there. Exactly what you might expect happen with a blind date happens. She walks in and I immediately go, that is not the one. I didn't say it, but it's like, nope. She and I shall never be.
Yeah.
But I'm a nice guy. I'm not going to lead with that kind of like introduction. So I'm like, okay, let's talk this out.
You're a nicer guy than me.
Well,
we'll get to my story next.
Okay. And so we sit through dinner, and it's like she ended up being one of those people who anything that you were mildly interested was something that she had always dreamed and envisioned herself doing. It's like at the time I was talking about, I might be going to Greenland later this year. Oh, I've always thought about being a missionary to Greenland and this, and I was just going to really, how did you come by that? What do you mean? Well, how did you ever come by the idea that you should go to Greenland? It's like, it was clear she was trying way too hard kind of thing. Yeah. And so it's like this, thankfully I'm perceptive enough to be like, this is not a good sign. This is not a fully developed person yet. I don't care how old they are. This is not when you meet, throwing this out here as an aside, when you meet somebody, if you are going to be entering into some sort of long-term relationship with them, you should be entering into that relationship with a more than like 90% clear idea of what you're going to be doing with the rest of your life. If you don't have a clear idea on what that is, and especially if neither one, if they don't have that, that's a red flag because that means they're not thinking about it. The two of you can work out that last 10%, but generally people are going to have some sort of mentality of, hey, this is the direction my life is going. If you don't have that, you're not grounded enough as a person to really be embarking on any kind of serious romantic relationship. I'm sorry. I know I'm 30 years old and still single, but I'm just going to say this. I've seen a lot of people who've done it the other way, and that might be why I'm 30 years old and still single, because I've seen too many people enter into their relationship without that prerequisite, and it's gone horribly wrong every single time.
Mm-hmm. Been there.
So what's your story, Masters?
I was given a phone number of a girl. I was probably, I was still in my teens. I was at least 17, but I was probably 19 or 20, which is not in my teens. The 20 part.
It's like one of us can't do math by a lot.
I don't. Age is a fickle thing. It's a time is a fickle thing.
As soon as it's more than 20 years ago, it never happened.
Exactly. Just 20 years ago, all happened 10 years ago. It's fine.
Yep.
And so we text for a while, probably about 2 weeks or so. Texting each other, just normal conversations. We would text each other all day. Nothing too serious, but getting to know one another. And I was like, this doesn't really feel like it's going to go anywhere, but who knows? It could blossom. And so we're sitting there, texting and whatnot, and it comes up that they're going to have a party at her house one night, just a couple of friends playing games, whatnot.
Right.
Which I thought, okay, sweet. I'll go over there, play some board games. We'll get to have some face-to-face time. It'll be fun.
Low pressure environment.
I use
I like
fun
it.
loosely. Huh?
Low pressure environment. I like it.
Yeah. So I go over there, and I'm apparently the last one to get there. Apparently, I was like given a time way after everybody else was given, or everybody else was just there all day. Because I get there and they're all well into the throes of whatever they're doing.
That's also a red flag for an introvert, because now you have to adapt yourself to an already integrated group. That's a bad thing.
Yeah. And so she's there. I would say that on my scale of 1 to 10, 10 being this is the perfect girl for me, and 1 being I wouldn't even give her notice on passing her on the street.
Right.
She was about a 6.
Okay.
Personality could have gotten her up to an 8 or a 9.
Okay, so this is like the full package, not the. Do you remember that?
Yes, this is the full package scale, not just the I see her and immediately, but her looks got her to a 6 by itself.
Okay, so there, just for reference, something you guys can look up. I'm gonna I actually created a new channel.
The craziness.
Yes, I created a new channel on my Discord. You guys can check it out. It is the World's Worst Podcast interaction channel. It's where I'm going to start posting anything that we talk about that has a graphical element to it. If you want to join the Discord, you're more than welcome to do that. You get in there, hit that channel, and you'll be able to see just where some of our depravity comes from, or at least some of the supporting material for it. So I'm going to drop that in there, and you guys can check that out at your leisure. But yeah, so there's a thing called the Universal Hot Crazy Matrix. This is not what he's referring to. He's talking about his personal scale for attractiveness. Go ahead, Masters.
Correct. So I'm thinking, okay, let's see where this goes. So they're all sitting on the floor playing a game. Why you would sit on the floor, I don't know. It was a bunch of college kids, so I guess it's kind of understandable. Because college kids are poor and can't afford tables, I guess. And so, I sit down and forget what game we were playing. It was some board game. It's been a long time ago. And so we're playing, and she hasn't said a word to me this entire time. And I'm looking at her, and I say hey to her, and she just kind of nods her head, like she's acknowledging that I'm speaking to her, but she's not responding. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And so we go on throughout the night, and a huge red flag hits me.
Okay.
At one point, not that her not speaking to me wasn't a red flag, but at one point during the night, one of the guys that were sitting next to her touched her with his foot.
Oh dear.
And she freaked out. And I thought, okay, that's weird. I know girls that don't like feet, but that's a little bit of an overreaction. And then he touched her again, and she got up and went and threw up because he touched her with her foot. And I was like, okay, that brings her down to at least a 3.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't handle me touching you with my foot, it's not going to work.
I mean, I'm just going to throw this out here. There's some things that may be coming in the future that would kind of make that really difficult to pull off.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, hello. And so I was like, okay, yeah. At that point, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work at all, ever. This will never be a thing between us. But like you, I'm a nice guy. I didn't just get up and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so we finished playing the game, and it was about time to leave. And so I said my goodbyes, because the people that were with her are actually people I grew up with, good friends. And so it wasn't her and a couple of the guys that the other girls were dating were the only ones I didn't know.
Okay.
And so it wasn't a complete throw me into the deep end kind of situation. And so I left the party. About an hour after I left, I get a text from her that said, "Hey, I really enjoyed hanging out with you tonight." I was like, "You didn't even speak to me, woman." I didn't even respond.
Okay.
And then I got a couple of text messages from my friends, her friends, telling me what a horrible person I was for not responding to her. And I was like, look, I gave it a fair shot. She didn't speak to me the entire time. Oh, she was nervous. I was like, that's not an excuse. I was like, it's not going to work out, so there's no point in continuing conversation.
So I have an experience that's quite a bit like that. About 3 years ago, maybe a little less than that. The pastors of my new church, who I was helping them at that time, but to a much lesser extent, they decided that they needed to take it upon themselves to find me a wife, or anything that was roughly female that they could thrust in my direction. And they found this girl who was kind of interested. We'd like crossed paths like 3 times, never spoken a word to each other, but apparently she thought I was, as they say, cute. I immediately asked them if she'd had her eyes checked recently and if we could pray for that, because clearly she was blind and needed to be delivered from that spirit of blindness. But apparently, that didn't go over quite so well. Anyway.
That does sound like something you would say.
It is exactly what I said. I don't hold back. So,
great.
So we meet up, and it was kind of awkward, and it was like, we don't, have I mentioned to you about I think I've mentioned to you before about my idea of, I think I talked about it like last week. This idea of like progressive levels of conversation.
Yes.
Well, our first meeting, we got to like level 2, where we talked about things that we both liked. And that was it. And like kind of liked, or she liked this, and I kind of liked this, and the pastors and his wife were just like, "Oh, this is the greatest connection we've ever seen in our lives." And I'm like, I would hope not, because you two are married. Because I'm hoping you guys are connecting a lot better than that. But I'm just throwing it out here. I'm hoping you guys got somewhat deeper than I hope we both like roller coasters. But like, I'm hoping that's farther than the conversation got at some point. Otherwise, you guys got some serious explaining to do about like your 2 kids coming along the way. I'm just saying. Yeah, fun times. And so it's kind of like, okay, whatever. I didn't really see that going very far, but I was like, okay, I have been kind of single by myself for a long time. I should at least give her a shot. Right. And so there was this event coming up. It was going to be, again, like you said, a large group of young people. And it was from multiple different churches, all getting together for like this weekend, 20 something people. And so they brought in a speaker, and he spoke. And then we did a couple of activities and games and went on this scavenger hunt. Well, scavenger hunts are fun. It was a video scavenger hunt where you had to like go to certain places and then film yourself doing different things. It's kind of fun.
We've done this.
Yep. And unfortunately, that was also the year that Baby Shark was a big deal, like when that first happened. And
so this wasn't that long ago.
No, this was just within the last like 2-3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. This was. I'm saying this though is that this is also the end of the story. Because after they make us go through a drive-through car wash singing Baby Shark, we all like, well, let's all go out to eat someplace. And this was kind of like the big clue that this was not the girl. You know me kind of well enough that there are some things where just like I don't have the patience to wait for other people to figure things out, so I'm just going to put myself in place and let other people figure it out around me. So we go out to eat, and there's this big long table, in the days before we had to quarantine ourselves, and I couldn't get in there. So I walk up to.
What was that like? I don't remember those.
I know. So I just walk up to the table and I sit down at the far end of the table, like on the end. There are positions to either side of me which are easily accessible. This girl is the next one behind me, and she walks straight past me all the way to the other side of the table and sits down in the chairs all the way to the other side.
Okay.
And I'm like,
that's good. That's weird.
And I'm like,
or not. I mean, she's sending very clear signals here.
And I'm like, I thought the whole point of me being here today was so that we could talk. You are now 40 feet away from me.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of conversation going to be going on at this point. And then it just so happened it literally was one of those things that just happened. I sat down, she walked all the way past me, and then like two other girls who I both kind of know, have no interest in whatsoever, like just flanked me on either side. And like they were having this wonderful conversation that didn't include me in the slightest. And so I'm just having this like horrific time, like going, I don't want to be here. This is awful. I think my mental age is about 14 years older than every other person at this table right now. I just want to go home. So, I mean, not to say I was. I mean, yeah, okay. I had a little bit of a bad attitude at that point, but I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't the greatest experience, but I mean, I can be adaptable, and I can. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier this week on like Tuesday or something, where I am introverted, but I present outwardly as extroverted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can present myself extroverted, and I joined the conversation. I got involved with a couple people there and had a conversation. But like the reason that I was there in the first place was 40 feet away from me, not paying me the slightest bit of attention, aside from occasionally like looking at me sideways from across the table. I'm like, you walked past me, woman. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I specifically picked a space that would have two spots for you to sit on either side. You could pick whichever one you wanted, and you're like, nope, just gonna walk past you. I'm like, okay, that is a clear sign to me that whatever interest was there is not all that deep. Like, if I'm just the passing stranger, then I'm the passing stranger, and to strangers we shall be. I'm okay with this.
You have not hurt my feelings.
Not at all.
We can continue.
So it was just like, this is kind of the issue that I have. I've described myself this way multiple times. I'm very, very quick release. As soon as I determine that, or as soon as I get like a flag or something that tells me that the relationship that might be or is not going to go any farther, I check out of it immediately, or very much very close to it, which is good. A good thing in some sense, because can mitigate future hurt, but it also is kind of a bad thing.
I'm a very big favor of catch and release dating.
But it's also kind of a bad thing because like sometimes may have been some times in the past where I have like cut people off intentionally, released too early, or released with poor reasoning. I think we also talked
I've been there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we also talked a little bit about this on Tuesday, but and as it relates to somebody else who I may not be exploring. That sounded wrong, but
or did it sound all right?
All right. That's Now is not a time for Matthew McConaughey to make an appearance in this podcast. I'm sorry, sir, but you must leave immediately.
All right.
That's not acceptable. Nope, that's not acceptable either. Get him out of here too.
Wait, you see Meg?
I really no there. No. But yeah. So just kind of
no, but yeah.
No,
okay.
no. Just no. So it's kind of this weird situation where it's like if I'm in a position where I feel like I'm not and this year pretty much just this year, I put myself in a position where I should have picked up the signals earlier, and I just kept going because I guess I was getting a little desperate. I'm going to be honest. I was like, it'd be nice to be in some sort of committed relationship before I'm 30. Well, we're there already, so screw that.
We can't all make it.
Nope. I mean, technically I was in a committed relationship from one side of the relationship at least, but that was some years ago.
Just because you were the one committed doesn't mean it was a committed relationship.
I am learning this. I wish I'd have known that back then. That might have really saved some.
It's like I keep trying to tell people, you cannot be in love by yourself. Being in love requires two people.
This is true. This is all too true.
When you love someone to the point where you want to be in love with them, but they are not reciprocating, that is called infatuation.
Exactly. It's so much. This was actually a conversation. I mean, not to bring up bad subjects. Here we are anyway. But I mean, this was a conversation that I had with my pastor 2 years into, actually 2.5 years. Whew, that's okay. That's bringing up a bad memory. So for those who aren't aware, I was in a very, I thought, committed relationship for about 3 years with a girl who I intended to marry. And at the meeting with my pastor that I had, where I told him like, hey, I've been dating this girl for 2.5 years. I'm planning to marry her at this point. I just went and bought her. Like I was telling him, oh man, I hope she never hears. So I never told this girl that I bought her a ring. That is something I never did. I never will do. She's highly unlikely to ever come across this. So I'm praying to God she never does, because I don't want her to ever know.
Even if she does, would she really recognize your voice?
Yep. She certainly would. To say nothing of the fact that this was around the time that I was doing a couple things on YouTube, so I actually sent her my YouTube channel way back when. Not that she would ever continue to bring it up, however many years, 6.5 years after we broke up. But just in the off chance, if you're here, highly unlikely, I did buy a ring. I didn't tell you about it. I'm sorry you know about it. I wish you hadn't known. Because I think that actually made the breakup process a little bit easier, despite the fact that she was the one who was seeing other people on the side. Yep. Around the exact same time that I'm telling my past, like she started doing this, as near as I can tell, within about 6 days of when I was telling my pastor, hey, I really want to marry this girl, I bought her a ring. And when you start doing that math in your head, that really makes it difficult. Like really, really makes it difficult, because you're like, this is not good. Not good at all. So is what it is. Anyway.
Yeah, my first engagement, I did give her a ring. That was a whole other story.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh, you can give more details. But
huh?
You can give more details. I don't mind. This is apparently the relationship episode, so
apparently, okay. Well, so there was a girl who went to my church.
This is the story of a girl. Oh.
Yeah. Who I really never had any interest in. In fact, I actually had interest in her cousin when I was younger for a very, very long time.
Okay.
I never really had any interest in her. And but she started coming back to the church again. She had been out of church for a long, long time, for one reason or another.
Uh-huh.
and my mother was like, "Hey, you should go and hang out with her. You guys are both the same age. Just try and keep her in the headspace. Make her feel welcome, so she doesn't leave again, kind of thing."
Gotcha.
So I was like, okay, and so we hung out quite a bit. I was very good friends with her grandparents. Because growing up, her grandparents were like my grandparents. Of course, they were like everybody's grandparents. They were those grandparents. So much to the point that everybody in the church referred to the grandmother as her grandmother name rather than her real name. So that when somebody said her real name, I had no idea who they were talking about.
Grandmother name.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it just in case somebody comes across this.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're like, let's put our podcast out there in the whole world. I hope that this group of people never hears what we say.
Precisely. So I'll just say we'll call her Nana.
Okay.
So I never knew Nana as her real name. Okay. And so when people would call her by her real name, I was like, I have no idea who you're talking about.
So you mean basically just by the colloquial, like Meemaw, Grandma kind of thing?
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, Grandma Jones or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when people said, hey, Suzanne, I was like, Suzanne? Who the heck is Suzanne? And she would be like, yeah, what you need? It's like, your name is Suzanne? No, you're Nana. Kind of thing. Like, she wasn't my Nana, but that's what everybody called her, so that's the only thing I knew her as.
Right.
Anyways, but so I had been over at their house hundreds of times without this girl there. Because they were just those kind of people. And so I would go over there and we would hang out and we would, ride four-wheelers and play with the horses and all that. They had a farm. And we would just hang out.
Right.
And one day I called her and I was like, hey, there's this movie that's going. I want to go watch it. Do you want to go see it? And she was like, sure. And I was like, okay, cool. And then she texted me back, can I call this a date?
Okay.
And I was like, sure.
Okay.
I really didn't know how to respond. I was like, sure. Like, I didn't dislike her, but I'd never thought of her like that. But right. I didn't want her to, like, feel rejected, per se. So I was like, sure, call it what you want. And so we started hanging out more and more. And then she started referring to me as her boyfriend. And I was like, okay. And I had told myself after my previous breakup that I wasn't going to date anybody until I had found the one. And then we would start dating and I would eventually propose to this girl. And so I found myself in this situation where I am now dating a girl out of some, and I was like, okay. And so I felt the need to propose to her. Like I felt like that was what I was supposed to do.
That's a terrible place to be.
It's like, okay, we're in our early 20s, mid 20s. This is what people of our age do. So I guess we're getting married.
No, you're not.
And then I had,
for reference,
I had a mental breakdown.
Let's say, for reference, see the earlier part of this podcast we talked about, if you don't have your life 90% figured out.
Yes. And so I had a mental breakdown one night, and I called my mother, and I was like, I don't even know how I got in this relationship. I don't know why I proposed. I just did. And she was like, well, you need to tell her this. And I was like, but I've already proposed. You can't do that. I was like, I'm stuck for life. You don't understand. And so...
Well, you can have said your vows, and there's still a couple options at that point to get out.
and so, like, I was like, okay, I guess I'm breaking up with my fiance. And, like, it was, I mean, like, at this point, like, before I'd had the breakdown, I had reserved the fact that, okay, I could spend the rest of my life with this woman.
Okay.
She's super nice. She's a great cook.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she went to culinary school to go to be a chef at Disney.
Okay.
That was her career goal.
Okay.
But then things happened and it didn't work out.
I mean, while she was on that,
she's super nice.
While she was on that path, it sounds like she was perfect for you.
Oh, you're not wrong. I was like, she's very, very giving. She has a very giving spirit. She's very acts of service in her outward love.
Is she still available?
And I don't know.
Okay.
Probably not.
Okay.
No, just
okay.
Offline. No.
Okay. Okay, so we haven't gotten to the crazy part of this.
Yeah, I'm working on it. So before, and then what really set me off was I was in college, obviously, so I just finished my classes for the semester, and I'd gotten my grades back, and I'd passed everything. There was one class that I was really worried about, but I actually came out with a B, so I don't know why I was so worried.
Okay.
And so I put it on Facebook. This was back when I had Facebook.
Uh-oh.
And I said, great news, I have passed all of my classes. Time to move on to the next semester. And almost immediately, I get a text from her that says, why did you put that on Facebook before you told me? It's like, I didn't realize I had to tell you first. Didn't realize that was part of the goals we had set for one another. But okay, I'm sorry I didn't tell you first.
Okay.
And then we had went to go see my great grandmother one Sunday afternoon, and she went with us.
Mm-hmm.
This was back before she had gone completely insane. My great grandmother, not the lady.
All right.
And she passed away a couple of years now. Again, great grandmother,
mm-hmm.
not the lady I was engaged to. And so she went with us, and on the way back, it was pouring down rain, and we stopped somewhere to just get a drink, use the bathroom, whatnot.
Right.
So we get out. I run into the store because it's pouring down rain, and she got mad at me because I didn't wait in the rain for her. And I was just like, what? No, I'm not waiting in the rain for you.
Like, did you have an umbrella?
Be faster next time.
Like, did you have an umbrella? Did you?
No, we didn't have umbrellas. The rain came out of nowhere. We were not prepared for it.
So,
like, if I had an umbrella, absolutely, I would have waited out for her with the umbrella. But no, it was every man for himself.
Noah, the boat is rising.
Exactly. And so I was just like, you have some really unrealistic expectations for how this relationship is going to go, and I'm not okay with it. And it was shortly after that I had the mental breakdown. And then I had to meet her and tell her that, I'm breaking off the engagement. And that was the scariest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
I'm sure.
Well, second scariest thing.
What was the first?
So, yeah, that was my first engagement.
Well,
and then I went and got engaged to another woman by the same name.
Well, I guess that makes it easier. But
well, we did keep the same Christmas stocking.
Okay. Okay, I'm seeing
the Christmas stocking that I proposed out of, by the way.
Okay, so there's some multiple issues here. I just admitted, I bought this ring for this girl. I got rid of that ring so that I would not be tempted to give it to the next future Mrs. Sasquatch.
I went and got my money back on that ring. I did not reuse the ring.
But anything that may have been given or bought for the intention of giving it to that girl, like, that's gone. It's out of my life. It's not anywhere I can get it.
It started off as a joke.
Uh-huh.
It started off as a joke, and she said she was fine with it. She probably was not fine with it.
She was not fine with it. Trust me, she was not. There are a few things in life that are less okay with a woman than secondhand sentiment. Like, you can,
especially from a past recipient that was
yeah
in the same circumstance.
yeah, wow. She was not okay with that, trust me. Wow.
Oh.
So what I learned from this story is that you are kind of the maker of your own destruction. And
yes. Yeah.
Although,
see, I'm not always the good guy.
Although I do have to ask, because now that you brought it up, what is the scariest thing that you've ever done?
I won't say scariest. It was the most nerve-wracking, and that was going to the divorce lawyer.
Ooh, yep. I can see that one.
Yeah, just the fact of, okay, I'm officially giving up on this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That thought process.
Yeah. Yep, I can see how that would be an issue. Wow. That's a tough place to come to. I didn't have to go to a divorce lawyer, thankfully, but when things ended with my girlfriend of 3 years, it was like there was, as soon as she admitted to doing what she was doing, there was clearly no other option in my mind but that, like, it was over. But it still took me like a week to really process what that was meaning, because I had planned out I'm a planner. I had planned out the next 6 months. I had planned out the next year. I planned out the next 5 years. I'm like, okay, if things don't work out, here's contingency plans on how to make everything else work. All that got thrown out the window immediately. And I'm like, this is tough. I understand your position entirely in that regard. That's not preferable. Yeah, that is when again.
I'll take the first scenario over the second scenario any day.
Yeah.
I would much rather break up with a fiance than get a divorce.
That is very fair. I will, not having had the second one and not really even having the first one, but very near to it. I will agree. It's probably better to, because I mean, if you're married to someone, I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on this. It's something that's kind of on my mind a lot, apparently, or at least it's enough on the mind of other people that they are getting it into my mind through, what's the word I'm looking for here? Subliminal messaging.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's in my mind all the time. So like, I've been doing some research on like pair bonding and stuff like that. And when you actually have that going on, which you should in terms of, marital success, yeah, that's a tough place to come to. Fortunately,
pair bonding.
Oh yeah. That is a big thing. Like,
want to explain?
No, but since you're asking, so pair bonding. All right. This is the part of the podcast where we really have to stress the fact that this is not for younger audiences. If you are a parent and you have your child present, now is the time for you to put on a different pair of headphones for them so they do not hear what's about to be said, because it may or may not, in fact, it probably will be totally inappropriate for children under the age of, well, let's just say 18. That's a good number to throw at it. All right. This disclaimer being said, pair bonding is related to hormones which are released during and after sex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not where I thought this conversation was going, but okay.
Nope. Pair bonding is actually a noted phenomenon where, okay, so with men, this is getting into the difference between male physiology and female physiology as it relates to brain chemistry. So women very quickly form very deep relationships and attachments to everything. Men, not so much. I mean, we were just talking about this. You and me are probably not totally unique in the idea that we are very quick release on a lot of things. On a lot of things we probably should not be. On a lot of relationships that we probably should give a second chance to, but as soon as we encounter a significant amount of difficulty, we just go screw it and we walk away. Not necessarily relating those to the specific romantic relationships that have been addressed already in this discourse, but in general, men tend to leave things a little bit more quickly and a lot more permanently. There is, however, an exception to this, and this is what's referred to as in pair bonding, wherein when a man and woman have sex, the man's brain releases an extremely high amount of the hormone oxytocin. And oxytocin, it does a couple of different things. Number one, it's a very pleasurable feeling. It can actually, in as plain English as you can possibly get, it has the psychological effect of addicting you to your wife, or addicting you to whatever sort of environment there is when that happens. So when one man and one woman come together, and those two consistently on a regular basis, there is actually a specific number for maximum pair bonding to be put into place, which is about 3 times a week. Just so people are aware, you can put that in your notebook in case that's useful information for you. After about 3 times per week, you get this oxytocin release in a significant and consistent enough format that your brain will automatically start to view other women, not your wife, to be less attractive, even if they can objectively be said to be more attractive. It's weird chemistry, but it works. We're not
that
sure.
Explains so much.
We're not sure how it works, but that's how it works. Now, the thing is, this oxytocin dump happens no matter what. So for people who hop from partner to partner to partner to partner to partner, that oxytocin dump makes it so you can't pair bond because it pair bonds you to the constant novelty of new partners. And that applies to both men and to women. Again, it's brain chemistry. Don't argue with me. You can look it up, and I might have to put a link to it somewhere, a link to an article for it or something. But yeah, it's a big thing. So people who do things the biblical way and they get married to one person, they very quickly can enter into this pair bonding where both of them start to view all other available sexual options as being dramatically less enticing compared to what they already have. However, the more partners you have before that person, the more partners you have in addition to that person, the less effective the pair bonding is, and the more difficult the marriage overall becomes because you begin to compare by your own brain chemistry that person against all other options. Pair bonding.
Interesting.
Yes. And I don't know which one. I might have to throw this in to the interaction channel later on because they are a lot of articles that I'm going to have to read at least half of them for to make sure that I'm actually giving them the accurate information. But if it's something you just want to look up, you don't want to go to the Discord, you can just find that on your own. I'm sure you can find a plethora of information on it because my 5-second Google search turned up about 76 million results. So
give or take.
Take that as you will. Yeah, so pair bonding. How we got there, I don't know.
You brought it up.
Well, there was something that was precursor to that jogged at my memory.
My conversation about my 2 fiancés, 1 ex-wife.
Yes,
and how we kept the stocking.
Okay, that might. I'm sure it was related in there somehow, but
I don't know how you got there from that, but you did. So
I don't know. I'm
not judging.
My brain does weird things. That's just how it goes. Again, World George Podcast, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. 1 hour and 4 minutes in.
Welcome. Why are you here?
Exactly. Have you nothing better to do?
This is officially on you.
Yes. You clicked, and not just clicked, you stayed for a full hour. And you stayed through the disclaimer. So when someone
there were.
When someone goes through a disclaimer like that and you're still here, it's on you, fella. But yeah, so
or lady feller.
I mean, fella is just kind of general.
I know. I just like saying lady fella. It's from Drake and Josh.
Alrighty. Never saw that program.
Really? You've never seen that show?
Nope. It just
Drake Bell and Josh Peck
never appealed to me in the slightest. Like
really?
Most of the Disney.
It was on the Disney Channel, so it appealed to me.
I say most of the Disney Channel live action shows just did not appeal to me in the slightest. None of them. Like back in the day, it was a big thing. Like Drake and Josh was a big thing. Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell was not Disney, but it was amazing, and that was not in the. That was
Nickelodeon?
80s and 90s.
Oh, didn't see that either. Didn't see Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Didn't see any of those things. It just had
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. That could have been, but Drake and Josh, come on.
Held no appeal for me whatsoever. I don't know why. I guess okay. I think I do know why. The joke was very repetitive. Like
what joke?
Exactly.
That's not an argument.
So okay, let me formulate my argument here. So my typical exposure to like I don't think I ever saw a full episode through of any of Disney Channel live action shows. I don't think I ever did. I think I watched some of the live action movies. One of them was because I thought Brenda Song was kind of pretty back then.
Still is.
Still, I haven't seen a recent picture, so I was just covering my bases.
She looks exactly the same.
All right, so
just legal.
Well, back then we were both about the same age, so I guess we still are now. So
yeah, precisely.
That's not where this was supposed to go.
Of course, Debbie Ryan was more my kick.
Not sure who she is. Probably would have if I'd have seen more. But see, she is why
Texas.
Let's say Brenda Song is why I know about the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. That's the only reason I know. I'm like, she was on that. I never saw it, but I know
Debbie Ryan was also on that.
I didn't see it, so I don't know. She must not have really, she was not releasing enough oxytocin for me to fall.
No, she's probably releasing lots of oxymoron though. But
brain hurts. Anyway, so my primary exposure to all of those shows was just like their trailers, their commercials, their next episode coming up, this, that, and the other is going to be happening, and like all I saw in all those trailers was like the exact same pratfall done over and over and over again by every single actor in every possible scenario. And I'm like, if falling down is the best you have to offer in terms of comedy, I can watch the Three Stooges and watch them do it better. So I never watched them.
No, that wasn't what the comedy was about, but okay.
But that's all that they presented in terms of like, that was supposed to be like their big draw for people to come in and watch our show. And the only thing that they ever showed me was, people falling all over themselves. I'm like, well, that's not very funny to me, unless it's actually done semi-intelligently. So I watch the Three Stooges over and over and over again. Still love the Three Stooges. They're amazing. Comedy genius at its highest. And it's been downhill ever since. But
yeah, you're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Then Will Ferrell was born and ruined everything.
I'm not as much on the Will Ferrell train as a lot of people are, because some people think like he's the greatest thing of all time.
No, he's the stupidest man on this earth.
But I have some appreciation for some things that he's done.
I don't.
Have you seen the other guys?
No, because he's in it. I refuse to watch anything he's in.
The other guys might change your mind. I'm going to be honest.
No, it would not. Especially because the other guy that is in that movie with him can't stand him either. Don't even know his name. Don't care to know his name.
I know his name, but out of respecting your wishes, I won't tell you. Other people can figure it out. They both play against character in it, so I think it works out pretty well for both of them. Well, they both play against character up to a point, and then they just kind of go back to normally what they would be doing anyway. The opening is one of the greatest openings of any movie I've ever seen, which is amazing, and it has nothing to do with either of them. It's it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson being a duo of buddy cops, like, you know, just taking the town by force and just, you know, beating the crap out of guys and doing all kinds of stuff that would be police brutality. And then, man, this is gonna get demonetized so fast.
We're not monetized. You keep saying that.
I know, but it's
Stop making people think we make money on this.
It's just in my mind, you know. This is gonna get us banned so fast. How about that? Drop from all platforms. That's more accurate. So, but so they go through and they just like tear up the whole town, and then like the big scene, which, I mean, it's an old movie. If you guys haven't seen it, you're either masters or you don't care. So I'm just gonna say it anyway. Like, they have this great scene where they're chasing these guys, and these guys like jump off this building with parachutes, and they look at and Dwayne Johnson and Samuel Jackson run up to the edge of the building to go chasing after them, and they're all the way down. They don't have parachutes. And they just look at each other and they say, "You think what I'm thinking? Yeah, I'm thinking what you're thinking. All right, aim for the bushes." And they like back up and jump off, and there are no bushes, and so they die. And it's like all this happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. And I'm like, after that, I was hooked. I just had to see what was going after that. Because when you kill Dwayne Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson in the first 10 minutes of the movie, jumping off a building saying, "Aim for the bushes," and there are no bushes. I just think that there's something there. And it also has Michael.
So just to clarify my hatred for Will Ferrell in any role. I was watching the Lego movie after much disdain and hatred for anything Lego movie or Lego related.
Okay.
I finally broke down and watched the Lego movie because Ducky made me.
Good Ducky.
And I got to the end. I didn't look at the casting or anything. But it got to the end, and Will Ferrell walks down the stairs. I immediately turned it off. I have not to this day seen the ending of the first Lego movie, and I will not watch another one.
I can't believe you got it all the way through the Lego movie and you didn't realize that Will Ferrell was Lord Business.
I don't watch his movies. I don't know what his voice sounds like.
But like, it's so clearly him. Like, even the character
has after he is revealed,
the character has his hair.
After I see the face, I'm like, how did I not see that to begin with? Never watching this again.
Oh my word. Like, not only is that just a good movie, but like, wow, that's just, oh man, I can't believe that. Oh, that hurts. How do you not? Okay, I can understand like when we're like in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, there's an all-star cast behind the animation. And you're like, and I'm like sitting there in the theater just eating it up, going, "Oh, that's Chris Pine. Ooh, that's Liev Schreiber. Like, this is awesome. I know who all these people are just by the sound of their voice."
I don't.
People are in the theater next to me going, "Who?" It's like Star-Lord introducing himself. Who? I'm like, come on, you don't know who that's Liev Schreiber? Come on, that's the greatest guy. And they're like, "I don't know who that is. I don't know why you know who that is. What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "This is the best thing ever. Why are you not excited about this?" And then at the end of the movie, when Chris Pine comes back and starts singing the Spider-Man Christmas songs, that is the best thing ever.
Oh. I still haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse. It's on my list. I just haven't seen it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind attentiveness during this episode of the World's Worst Podcast. We are now going to adjourn, and we will be back sometime later after Masters has watched Into the Spider-Verse, and we'll not be back until he does. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Oh.
I feel like that is a movie of significant import that would be a totally legitimate thing to do right now.
You have church in the morning.
I know I have church in the morning. You need to watch this movie. Like priorities, man.
Really? You're going to say that?
No, but but it seemed like a sufficient way to like convey the idea that this is the okay. I'm going to say this. This is the best Spider-Man movie that has ever been made. It's better than any of the Tobey Maguire stuff. It's better than Andrew Garfield, and it's better than any of the MCU movies with Tom Holland. It is the best Spider-Man movie that we have on film. That's just what it is. It is the best Spider-Man movie. Yeah, and I don't have any issues with saying that. I feel like that is just a factual statement. It is the best. It's better than Spider-Man 2. It's better than Homecoming. It's better than Far From Home. It's clearly better than anything that Andrew Garfield is in. I mean, I do have a little bit of appreciation for the first movie, but I got really upset about some things that just weren't in that one and then weren't in the second one. But like, I mean, Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie. It just is. It's just a statement of fact.
You're not the first person I've heard that from.
And you are dramatically underreacting to that information. Like, if someone told me this...
Would it hurt you to know that I'm not as big of a nerd as people think I am?
It wouldn't hurt me. I just would feel a little bit lied to. I mean, considering that our last attempt at a podcast was the Fan Fanatic and the Fortunate, and you're supposed to be the fan, and like...
Yes, I'm a fan. I'm not to your level.
Okay. Have you seen all the movies in the MCU?
Yes.
Then you should have time to find... You should be able to find time to watch Into the Spider-Verse.
I will. And now that I have access to it, I can.
And you should find time to watch Into the Spider-Verse before this time next week.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
I'll probably watch it tomorrow.
We'll remember you said that. Like, that's going to be a thing. Like, Sass going to have like 3 comments in here about by the way, we finally referenced Sass. What's the other thing we got to talk about? Oh yeah, I remember the other thing we got to talk about. We'll get there.
D&D?
Yep. We'll get there. Yeah. So, yeah, you need to watch this movie. It is like, if you want, I mean, probably not tomorrow, because I got all kind of stuff going on. But actually, my Monday just freed up. Do you want to? You want to watch Spider-Verse on Monday? I would love to watch the movie again. It's so good.
Do you have to? Are you off Monday?
It's Memorial Day. Or Labor Day.
It's not Memorial Day.
It's Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Whatever. I don't know. Come on. These days run together. Come on. That's very disrespectful to Memorial Day.
Yes, it is. Labor Day is nothing like Memorial Day.
Well, that's not entirely true. The meaning behind Labor Day is nothing like Memorial Day. The actual practice of Labor Day is very much like Memorial Day. It's the first Monday in a month, and nobody goes to work. Or at least nobody should go to work, but everybody does.
I don't.
Well, I don't either. I've always been smart enough to get a job that doesn't require me to do that. So far. We'll see how that continues onward. If I get this job at the post office, there's a lot more days I don't have to come into work.
If you get the job at the post office, you may have a lot more days that you don't have to go to work.
You know, that's true. I mean, but this is not that. It'll work out. Main point is you need to watch Into the Spider-Verse. That needs to be like become very high priority for you. Your life will be bettered. That might be an overstatement. You will be happy for a few moments. That seems more correct. Yeah. Yep. I don't know how we got there, but we did. Somehow we were talking about Will Ferrell.
You were talking about Will Ferrell, and you talked about watching Into the Spider-Verse because of all the people that were in it, and I was...
Yeah, because you didn't recognize Will Ferrell's voice, despite the fact that was clearly Will Ferrell's voice, and then you didn't recognize it. It was just... His face! on a Lego character. How do you not pick that up? Like the only one.
I wasn't looking that closely.
Clearly.
I was already not interested in watching the movie. I just had nothing better to do, so I was watching the movie.
I don't understand you. I mean, there are no actors that I just will not watch any of their movies. I mean, the closest for me is Adam Sandler, but I just don't watch movies that he...
I have to be in the mood for Adam Sandler.
Like, I just don't watch...
I can't just go watch an Adam Sandler movie.
There's his early work is pretty good. And then after, well, pretty much starting at Little Nicky.
After 50 First Dates?
I think Little Nicky is after 50 First Dates, but like Little Nicky was like his last movie that was like towing the line between watchable and just absolute garbage. And it's really on the wrong side of that equation. But that's when he just started to take this grand dive. But other movies that he's in that he doesn't direct or doesn't write for or doesn't have anything to do with the production on it, but it's just like he's in the movie, he's actually a very good actor. He just has to stay in front of the camera instead of being behind it. Because when he goes behind the camera, it's just hot garbage. Like, just terrible. I haven't seen any of his... I try to avoid anything that comes out of Happy Madison at this point because it's just all the same retreaded drivel as it has been for the last 15 years. But I have heard really good things about Uncut Gems, and there's a couple other movies. It's on my Netflix list. I haven't watched it yet. But apparently his performance in there is just great. I'm like, I would love to see Adam Sandler actually be a decent actor. All those actors that are part of like the Sandler players have potential to be very good actors. I think we were robbed when like the general movie viewing audience was robbed when Adam Sandler got his hooks into Kevin James, because I think Kevin James has the potential to be like one of the world's greatest dramatic actors. Kevin James. He was on The King of Queens. Yes, was his show. Yeah.
I love Kevin James.
Yeah. I think he has the potential to be a fantastic dramatic actor.
Paul Blart Mall Cop?
That is Happy Madison and will never be mentioned again on this podcast. I will kill you if you do.
I love that movie.
I hate that movie. Like
both of them. I love both of them.
I hate those movies so much. It hurts because okay, so from my perspective, Kevin James has the potential to be one of the greatest dramatic actors of all time. He has the face for it, he has the acting range for it. We've seen him do this in a bunch of different things, but he keeps just getting thrown back into the fat, stupid guy stereotype, and that hurts me because I see so much potential in him beyond just being the fat, stupid guy stereotype. He could be okay, let's pitch a movie for Kevin James to be in.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, that'd be so sacrilegious, but but I'm like, I could put him in there. Like, I would. When you said that, I'm like, I wonder how he would do as Uncle Iroh. And I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. Don't do it. But it's in my head. I can't get it out.
That would be whitewashing.
I know.
How dare you?
But it's like, I can't get it out of my head now. It's like, wait a second. I could actually see him pulling this off because Uncle Iroh treads that line between being silly and being dramatically serious at all times. I kind of like that idea, actually. Oh, that's a bad idea. Don't do that to me, Masters. I'm like, oh, because now I'm just like seeing him with the beard and firebending. I'm like, I'm behind this, and he even fits.
But then he would have to get ripped at the end.
So I don't care. Do it.
No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Like he halfway did it for when he did the movie Enter the Here Comes the Boom. Get another Happy Madison picture, but like that he was treading that line between being serious and being funny through the whole thing, or funny as it were, fat stupid guy, haha, look at you, never real fight. Well, no, he actually like put on some real muscle for that film. I could see him pulling off Iroh. I could really see him doing it, and he has the face where if he gets really like if he pulls that emotional draw, you will get sucked in. I think Kevin James could do that. There's no way on earth he's ever going to get pitched that role. But I could see him doing that. I am now enamored of this idea, and he's just about old enough at this point where it's not totally outside of his age range either. He's got to be getting close to like 50, mid 50s, something like that. Now I'm curious, how old is Kevin James? Let's see. How old are you, sir? 1965. He is exactly 55 years old. How about that? Yeah, like I could totally see him pulling off Iroh. People can disagree with me. They probably will. It's absolute sacrilege. But I mean, I could see it. And the thing is, you can't. I'm a meritocracy, dadgummit. I want to see the best possible actor in the role. I don't care what their race is. We can prove this by going back to our Princess Bride casting. Very diverse cast. Like absurdly diverse cast. But it was just, who's the person who's going to fit this? Who's the person who's going to play this role the best? Oh, this person. Do it. Doesn't matter what the race is. Very diverse cast. Very proud of that. Didn't even try. I was just like, who would I want to see here? This person. Clearly. I could definitely see Kevin James pulling off Iroh. Because then the question is, well, if it's not Iroh, who do you get? Can't get the guy who they did for the M. Night Shyamalan travesty. That guy needs to be nowhere near. There's just
no, he can show up for the part where they're doing where they have the Fire Nation play.
And have him be Iroh?
Somebody's been pitching that on the internet. Is to have the cast that Netflix should have the cast from the Avatar movie play those
the Ember Island players.
Yes,
that would be so funny.
and pronouncing it like literally just
that would be so great. Oh man. Well, okay. Did you I just found this out like 2 weeks ago. Did you hear how the girl in that film got cast as Katara?
No. She
was like the niece of one of the executive producers that Shyamalan was pitching his movie to. And they're like, okay, we'll do your movie, but I have this niece who's a big fan of the show, and it means so much to us, like giving you an extra $30 million to make your movie if you would put her in it as a starring role. I wonder which one. And she's like, oh yeah, sure, let's do it. Says fine, she'll be great. And then they had to like recast part of the rest of the cast so that they wouldn't, so like, everyone else would kind of match her. Yeah, one of those situations. Nepotism. It's never good for anything. So yeah, that's a peek behind the curtain on something that I didn't want to know. But I have it now. It's in my head and I can't get it out. And now it's in your head. How do you feel about this information, Masters?
Yeah. I don't live in the past.
But you do like the idea of the past influencing the future.
Huh?
Well, if you like the idea of them showing up as the Ember Island players, then
yes.
Of course, if they do that, they're going to have to get somebody else to come in and play, Burly Toph for that, and there are so many great options.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson,
Dave Bautista, a whole bunch of guys. Just like trade them out, Every time she comes, okay. So I just want.
Yeah, every time she comes on screen, she's just a different actor. That would be great. I am on board for this.
And I want every single one of them to do their own special version of the Sonic Scream. Because that was just great. I'm sorry. I just finished watching Avatar like a week ago. Again. And I just started watching Korra.
I'm watching Legend of Korra right now.
So I watched the entire first season yesterday.
I finished the first season today,
mm-hmm.
and I'm about halfway through the second season.
Yeah, I was doing other things today, but it was like, it's another one of those things where it's like there's so much potential. Although I will say this, having watched, this is my second time through Korra. I only watched it when it first aired, and then this is my second time through it now.
Same.
Are you having the same experience as I am, where I kind of hate Mako a lot? Like, he is just the worst kind of human being on the planet. Like, he was supposed to be pitched as like the super cool guy, and I'm just sitting there through the entire thing like, why is he the main brother?
Like,
Bolin is such a better person than he is.
I didn't realize the first time around the part where Bolin's like, so what do you think about Katara? He's like, I don't know, she's great, I guess, but I'm not sure. I'm already dating I don't even remember her name.
Asami.
I'm already dating Asami. What? No, for me. What? No, that's a terrible idea. You just got through saying how great she is.
Yeah. And it's like, what he's doing there in that moment is he's undercutting his brother's chances, and just like, again, he's just being the word. He's for a totally selfish idea of like the backup girl. He's like, well, I like this girl, and she's like super hot, and she's got lots of money, and she's got connections, and she's got family, and this. But this girl's the Avatar, and if I get bored with this one, I might want to go to this one, and this, and I'm like, you're just scum, like the lowest of the low. Like, I'll be honest.
And then at the end of the first season, he like completely ditches her.
Yeah.
For Korra.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I see your game.
So I had this thought, and it's a very carnal, evil thought. Of
course, Korra didn't help in the situation at all.
Well, no. Let me get through this. So I had this very carnal, evil thought, which I think actually has a lot more merit. Mako is such a bad example of a human being and how you should behave in a relationship that, knowing how the series ends, he turned two perfectly good women gay. Because if you think about it, every single one of their issues with each other and with all their family all stem back to him. Like, that he is the problem. And like, when that happens, you just get bounced around from maybe she does, maybe he does, maybe they don't, and they're just bouncing back and forth and just getting beat up the entire time. Like, number one,
I also had a thought about that as well, because I saw a thing recently that was, since the resurgence of this, since it got on Netflix, there's been a lot of new information, and a lot of people are posting these information about the avatars the past avatars that we know about.
Right.
And a great majority of them married or dated female. No matter what sex that the avatar was, they dated females.
Okay.
And I was like, I wonder if that goes back to the first Avatar because he was male.
Could be. I mean, that would be a legitimate. If it's just reincarnation, I mean, yeah, that seems totally legit. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. I haven't read those articles, but I mean, that would make sense to me as a perfectly legitimate explanation. I
like your idea though too.
I mean,
it's all Mako's fault.
Leaving out the room of speculation of the reincarnation cycle playing a factor, Mako would by himself be enough to just like turn people off from guys permanently. And I'm saying that as a guy who's had a rather rocky relationship history. My relationship history looks nothing like his. That's just bad, just awful. Like, every single person he touches just makes their life worse. I don't know. Does he? I haven't gotten through the series again, but I'm trying to process in my mind. Does he actually make anybody's life better in that series at all, in any way, shape, or form? I almost feel like, okay, so they named him Mako in honoring Mako, who was the voice actor for Iroh in Avatar: Last Airbender, which is a fantastic tribute to him, except for the fact that the character is just garbage. I mean, He's totally irredeemable. I may be a little over the top on this one, but
when are you not though? Let's be honest.
Okay, but I mean, like, does anyone who has seen the series more recently than I have? I'm gonna get through it in the next couple of weeks. I'm quite sure. But like, I can't think of any like major redeeming quality that he has. He's a decent firebender. There's a bunch of those. Korra's already kind of got that covered. She's the Avatar. It's kind of her thing. I mean, like, what redeeming quality does he bring to Team Avatar that is not already fulfilled much better by somebody else without all of the infighting and push back and forth and spit spat going back? Like, he's just there to divide the group, really. And, like, I'm sitting here looking at Bolin like, man, you got done dirty so many times. How did you not just crush this idiot? Like, just crush him, please. Like, there's no
he's family.
I don't care. Just kill him. That is one other thing though. Watching Korra, like, so especially when you watch it in that close proximity to The Last Airbender, like The Last Airbender, the bending just feels bolder, like stronger. And they start off by saying, "Oh no, that's the old style. You'll get this, that, and the other." It's like, well,
yeah.
But it feels like they're doing a lot more with it. Like, yeah, they might be, stuck in this form for a half a second, but did you see the gigantic ball of fire that burnt a hole in the mountain? I mean, I'm not trying to say that what your way isn't effective. I'm just saying, did you see the gigantic hole in the mountain where the fireball hit it? I just want to make sure that we're both processing the same information, because it doesn't necessarily feel like we are. like the episode with Aunt Wu. Like, not really a bending heavy episode, but at the end, they do some absolutely amazing things with bending. In terms of like just demonstrating the raw power of what bending can do, that is one of the premier episodes to really understand what bending can do.
Episode?
The episode in season 1 with Aunt Wu, the fortune teller.
Oh, where they like stop the volcano?
Yeah, like when they stop the volcano, that is so cool to me, to see them all working together like that, and like there's no avatar state, there's no extra outside influences, it's just water bending.
Yeah, that's one thing I have noticed as well. Korra goes into the avatar state all the freaking time.
You must be
once she figures it out.
Yeah, like in season 1, she only goes into it one time. she got one shot at it in season 1. And it was just like so she could get her bending back, kind of thing. But like, and not even so much that, but like just seeing what they were able to accomplish with bending. Again, just earth bending, water bending, and air bending in that one episode. It was like, this is amazing, the amount of power that these people are in control of. And then you get into, Korra, and they're just chucking little discs back and forth at each other, and little spritzes of water and little puffs of flame. It's like, I don't feel like we're even in the same universe at this point. But at the same time, I think they actually had to dial the bending back to that extent, because they're talking about how, if you're doing that in, I think it's in episode 2 or 3 where she first meets up with Bolin and Mako, where she's like, they're showing her the new style of bending, and well, if you stay there like that, then you'd have already been hit 3 times. But when they're actually fighting like the Equalists and the Chi Blockers, it feels like they are so slow in comparison that, like, why are you guys even trying? Just at this point, just fisticuffs them to death, because you aren't going to make it with that fireball. I mean, it's supposed to be and like, I feel like they had to like pull bending back from what it actually was, just so that they could have like shoehorn in the Chi Blockers as being a legitimate threat. Because
have you not seen Ty Lee? Chi Blockers are a legitimate threat.
But Ty Lee feels very, very different from regular Chi Blockers. Like, when she's fighting,
actually, if you watch the Chi Blockers, they have a very, very airbender vibe to them.
They do.
Both Ty Lee and the ones in Korra, because and it's also a thing that I've noticed, that because airbending has been was extinct for a very long time and is now very, very rare.
Yeah.
With there only being 5 airbenders at this point. People don't know how to fight airbenders.
Right.
So you if you know that, well, you haven't gotten there yet, but when you get to the point where Korra is using airbending, she when she uses it, she pretty much dominates her opponents.
Yeah. No, I mean that's
because they don't know how to deal with it because
that's basically what happens with Aang all the way through the first series. Like,
yeah,
how do we fight this kid? Like, airbending just seems dramatically overpowered because no one's like, how do... But at the same time, so going back to chi blockers, yes, they have airbending-esque, movements, things like that. But compared to what we saw happen in the first series, okay, a bunch of... You also have to look at this in terms of, like, the totally different setting. So in Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's a lot of wide open spaces, a lot of wide open areas, which is again probably why they didn't do so much with the with like the big movements of bending, because then you're like talking about undermining structures of buildings and stuff. But think about Toph for just a second. If she comes down a narrow street and she sees 9 chi blockers coming directly at her,
yeah,
she's just going to drop the street 20 feet out beneath their feet and hope that they don't break anything important on the way down. Like, that's just what she's going to do.
Doesn't even really care if they do.
Right. It's because it's tough. And if she's feeling particularly generous that day, she's not just going to flip the entire street up like a pancake and squash them in the middle like a bug. I mean, those are things we saw her do, or things that we saw her capable of doing in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So we see, and yes, she's a very powerful earthbender, but she has kids, and they're in the show, and they don't do that either. Like,
yeah.
I mean...
Well, it's also, they live in a more civilized world now, kind of thing.
I get the idea. I'm just saying,
yeah, I mean...
when I can see... That's one of the things that I really like about the one fight in season 1 against Tarlok, because that's like the first big bending experience that we get, where he starts just covering the wall in ice and just chucking all the stuff at her, and then she flips around the wall and breaks things down and really just puts a crater in the middle of the council chambers. Great bending, and like. That's kind of the best we get in season 1. I mean, we don't have a volcano experience where we get to. I mean, I guess the idea might also be that having already seen the first series, the idea that people would already be kind of familiar with what bending can do, you wouldn't have to re-demonstrate that. But because we already know what bending can do, we're like, well, why aren't you just doing this? I mean, this very super obvious thing that works totally within the canon of your world. Why aren't you just folding the street up like a pancake and squishing all these equalists? Why are you running away from them? You can literally just put a 60-foot wall in front of them right now, and with buildings on the other side, they got nowhere to go but directly into it. Good luck dodging that one, Jack. I mean,
well, we kind of get that in I want to say season 1. When they go to the Equalist underground bunker, and they're trying to get away after saving the few officers that had been captured down there.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get away, and Bolin freaking just destroys the rail, and the cart that was chasing them just obliterates into it.
Right.
And then they see a bunch of people up in front of them, and Chief Beifong rips a hole in the ceiling and shoots them up like a rocket into the ceiling.
Yeah. And that is great bending. And I 100% acknowledge that. But I'm saying they did that once. Like, why didn't they just do that all the time? I mean, I understand, you have to be careful about... You see, the thing is, you don't even have to be careful about damaging the street at that point, because in a world that is habitated, that is, it's comprised of people living as earthbenders in the city, if someone messes up the street,
rebuild it.
A guy can just walk by and just like, oh, crick his neck and put it back in place. I mean, not that big a deal. Not super easy, barely an inconvenience.
That was something else that they kept complaining about. Oh, you destroyed this area of town. It's like, it'll take somebody, a day to put it back in order?
Not even that. If she can break it in 30 seconds, someone can put it back in 2 minutes. I'm just doing the math here. I mean, it's not hard. Like the whole idea of, this is one of the things where I think their world building ideas kind of lost track with the world building ideas they'd already put in place. Why would a society need to make buildings out of brick when you can make totally self-sufficient stone walls by gesturing?
Yeah.
I mean, and they have like these gigantic brick buildings with all these, like, okay, maybe there's some structural things to be said about that, but you also have metal benders who could, put metal support beams through these solid stone structures, and then you don't have that issue anymore. You just have a completely solid wall with metal reinforcing structures built directly into it. Your argument is invalid. I'm sorry. You can skip concrete entirely because you don't need to break the stone down. You can just put it in place, whole, build an entire structure. A circular structure would be even stronger, just by gesturing.
Geometry.
Yeah, like you don't even have. You don't have, when you have access to that amount of ability and that amount of just unbridled power, why are you going through the tedium of doing all these little things? I think that's one thing where they really kind of dropped the ball on carrying over the already established world building into the new world building. There's probably something to be said for aesthetics and things like that in terms of like brick, but who cares? I mean, in big cities, have you ever seen a big city that really looked attractive, or is it all just basically gigantic concrete structures anyway? I mean, I'm not really one for big cities in the first place, but I think my point kind of proves itself, because at a certain point when you build above a certain height, you kind of only have like 3 options for stuff you can build that out of, or it's just going to collapse on itself. And they're mostly concrete. Concrete, steel reinforcing bars, that's about where you go. But if you can just build it, if you can pull like the Earth's crust up to you and form a gigantic structure out of that, why wouldn't you? It's one of the things where they kind of dropped the ball a little bit in terms of, continuity from one series into the next. If you have the ability, just do it. As opposed, and the thing is, the look of it of the entire series, especially in Republic City, would have probably been a lot more unique if they'd have done that. Their idea was to try and do like a Western Asian fusion kind of thing, where it was in like the 1920s era. And it's like, okay, I can kind of get where you're going with that. But this is not the world. This is not Earth. You could do so much more with this just by building in world, in universe, as opposed to being like, well, let's just make this look like 1920s, New York, if it had a major Asian influence. Yeah. World building. It's very important. Ha ha ha. Also character building, as we've already talked about Mako.
So now let's get into the other topic we have to mention,
which is
due to copyright issues. D&D. You have something you wanted to say?
Oh, well, I was actually going to lead into that with character building.
Yes, that's why I brought it up, because you said character building. Speaking of character building,
I was like, do I just want to say that? No, I'll see if you catch it. Yep, you got it. Okay. So, yeah, I've been driving Masters not crazy the last couple of days, but I've not been making life easy for him, because we are about to enter into a rather lengthy campaign, and the character that I'm doing is, number one, designed to be a trap for all the rest of the people playing, and number two, not the anime kind of trap. I do have to make that very clear, like the Admiral Akbar kind of trap, not the other kind. But But with that, I'm not just trying to do it to mess with other people, but also to have a very fun character to play. And so my approach to character building, I'm discovering, is very, very different to a lot of other people's, because my thing is, if I'm going to build a character, I'm just going to build a narrative around that character and let him fill in the gaps. So
there were no gaps for me to fill in.
I know. That's what I said. I'm going to let my character fill in the gaps. I created a rock solid story for him to begin with, and like I'm writing it out, and I'm like, man, I could have actually turned this into like a novel if I just expanded these.
Yes, you could have.
It's less of a
at this point, why are you playing D&D? Just go write a book.
Well, it's set in the D&D universe. I don't want to get strike. It's very, very hard to get things published that are tied to existing franchises. It's very hard. I know. I have some friends who try to get some stuff published, and it has not gone well. But yeah, I mean, my thought is, I'm trying to give you as the DM, I want you to have the most. I think it's you're doing all the work in terms of encounters, in terms of overall story, all this kind of stuff. My perspective as the character, I should be contributing to this narrative in some capacity, so that you don't have to think so much about what my character is going to do or what his motivations are. I want to try and have that all laid out for you in as clear, concise, okay, maybe not concise, but as clear and informative a manner as possible. In this case, it's about 4 pages long. That's not bad. Yeah, it's not that bad. I went a little over what I told you it was going to be, but
it was 3.5 pages.
And most of it is just kind of like, it's drawn from other sources, and it's just kind of reformatted into this situation. Basically what I'm playing is I don't have to get into class and everything, but like the general idea of my character is like, if all of a sudden Gary Oak became a playable character in the Pokemon games, he is the classic rival character with all the negative character traits of every single one of them rolled into one. But over time, I'm going to develop him into an actual functioning human being, or not human being because he's a Minotaur, but an actual functional person with proper, mental controls and self-denial and all this kind of stuff, the things that make for a legitimate person, as opposed to just being a very impulse-driven, I'm the best, and everyone who says differently can just, go suck on eggs kind of thing. So there's a progression to him. So he's interesting for me to play, but he's also kind of there to force some role play upon the other players who are not necessarily so versed in that. And there's some certain character traits he has which are going to be fun for that. I think are we actually going to be streaming this anywhere, or are we just going to be hiding this mess under a log somewhere like we should?
Yes, I will be streaming.
Okay, so you can check out. Oh, I should turn it. I'm going to have to start linking your Twitch channel. Haven't done that.
I know you haven't.
I know. I got you. I've been linking your Twitter. I mean, I guess I can start doing the Twitch channel. Darn it. But yeah, it's one of those. I think he's a lot of fun, and I've really had a lot of fun making his backstory. How do you do your characters, Masters? Because apparently my methodology is a great departure from conventional wisdom.
So, I start with, okay, what do I want to play as far as class and stuff? And then I think about, okay, this class, what race would be good for this class? Sometimes I go for a fun race, and sometimes I go for this class suits this race kind of thing.
So far, we are exactly the same.
Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, I will choose a monstrous race. One that is not the conventional 5. Which we've talked about, right?
Yes, I don't think
Council of Five.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played a non-monstrous character.
I've played a couple. They're fine, but they're not as fun to me.
I mean,
yeah. Even though the play style does not change whatsoever. Realistic.
Like, I didn't even realize that there was a different delineation between the classical characters and like the monstrous races until you told me about it like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess those are different. I didn't really think about that in any way, shape, or form. I have never played like a human, an elf. Oh no, I guess I did play a dwarf one time. Third Grace. That was the only one, and yeah. I made him weird enough on his own that he didn't. But
being human is fun sometimes because you can go variant human and you start off with a feat.
Okay.
So that's a good reason to play human, but I've only done that once. I don't think I've actually done that for a main character. I did it for Zai, and I gave him the observant feat.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so I'll start off with that, trying to figure out what I want to play, and then I'll start going through the. Like, I'll think about what I'm playing him in. If it's an actual campaign, I'll think about the campaign that it's in, what kind of setting that is, and what would work best to that world.
Mm-hmm.
So like Venjo, we're playing in a world where the Ghoul Empire is trying to take over. And so one of the subclasses, or one of the backgrounds that you can pick up is called the Ghost Knights, and it is a group of soldiers in the Ghoul Empire that are usually made up of conscripted soldiers, usually against their will. Which is what conscription is. And so I thought, okay, that would be cool. I'll play, he's a Trollkin, so I'll play him, and he'll be like this soldier that was brought into the war. And so the whole thing about the ghouls is they have to eat flesh in order to survive. Flesh is a currency to them.
Okay.
And so if they don't consume fresh flesh, then they start going mad and dying. And so I thought, okay, so Venjo is this character. He was conscripted, not necessarily to fight in the war, but to be there in case their food stores got low, they would have a fresh meal.
Mm-hmm.
But he proved himself as a soldier and eventually won his freedom.
Okay.
And now he uses his knowledge of the ghouls to fight back against them, now that he is free from their reign. And so that was kind of where I went with Venjo's backstory. And I kind of left it at that. He was a soldier that was conscripted as, a just-in-case meal, and then proved himself as a worthy fighter to where the ghouls set him free after many years of service and torment.
Okay.
And so that was where I left it, and it's one of Bramble's campaigns. So I don't expect it to go much further than that.
Okay. Because he's very encounter focused.
Yes, he's very encounter. He's encounter focused, and he's very all role play is here and now role play. What is your character doing here and now? And it's not so much, he's not taking our backstory like I am. He's not taking our backstory and then putting it somewhere in the future for us to find and interact with. Then it's okay. That's your backstory. How does that affect how you act now? Kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I didn't put really, and this is the second time, because the first time I played with Bramble, I didn't know what to expect, so I did what you did. I have actually, let me look at it. I still have it. For the first character I made for Bramble, I have a document much like yours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in my D&D folder. Back up. Must just be out here in the multiverse.
Away
Come
in the
on,
ether.
Nox, where are you at? I didn't delete it, did I? Did I delete Nox?
I don't know.
But yeah, I wrote this whole backstory much like you did.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember how it was at least 2 pages.
Okay.
Now it's probably nowhere close to the 4 or almost 4 pages you have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here he is. And somebody just subscribed, or not subscribed, but followed me on Mr. Handy just followed me.
Oh dear.
On Twitch.
Alrighty then.
That was really random, but okay. Let's see. It's a 1.5 pages.
Okay.
I
mean, so my draft 1 of Rezo was kind of lacking, I think, because I just like threw him out there to be like, oh, I want to join. I don't have any. I wanted to be kind of on the run. I had kind of muddy ideas of what I wanted him to be. Yeah. And then as things went on, I'm like, okay, I could make him a lot more interesting if I gave some more meat to the idea of him being on the run.
Yeah.
And then we got to cannibalism and mass murder. But
since it's not that long, I'll actually just read it.
Okay.
All right. So
ooh, can I start reading backstories too?
Huh?
Can I start reading backstories too?
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, this is the World's Worst podcast. We can do whatever we want.
Alrighty. Go ahead. I'm gonna eat a cookie.
So here we go. And this is written as a first-person journal entry kind of thing. Okay. Or like at the start of a movie when there's narration. This is like that.
Okay.
My name is Nox. I am a changeling. I have many faces, but only one is mine. I haven't used that face in a long time. It's pale, my long white hair touches my shoulders, my eyes gray-blue. It was some time ago that I had that I was in that form. My form. My real face. I grew up on the coast. I lived there with my mother. She was kind. She was so very kind. She liked the form of a small halfling woman. It was not her form, but it was the one she was most comfortable in. I always wondered what form I would choose. I thought I would be a halfling as well, but for that time, I was safe in my own skin. We lived outside of town, near the beach. I remember the waves crashing in, the calm of the open sea, the sand. I missed the sand. Everything changed for me when I was taken. Warriors of the Dragon Empire took me away. I was only 10 at the time. Not quite fully mature, but more so than humans I sometimes interacted with in the city. They never saw my face. In case you were wondering, my mother always made me change into a halfling boy when we went into town. They will not trust us, she would say. That's the thing I remember most. She was always fearful of losing favor with people. I think it's why she was always in her halfling form. Anyways, the Dragon Empire. They took me away from my mother. They taught me to fight. They taught me to infiltrate, and they taught me to use my abilities to help them. I was engulfed. I had been conditioned to be a soldier, a spy, a diplomat. I did as they asked, and they always took care of me. I thought they had my best interest in mind. They told me that my mother wanted this for me, and she gave me to them. I always wondered why, but I may never know. I'm not the strongest in my group of fighters. I use my charm and wit to win. I love being tricky. I put trickery for some reason. Making people think one thing and then doing another. Around the age 15, I had a vision or a dream. Not really sure which. I think I was awake, but it didn't feel real. A man approached me. He told me that he liked my spirit. He laughed at my tricks I had done. He asked me if I would like to be able to trick even the mightiest of enemies. Yes, that would be amazing, I said. Very well, he told me. As quick as he came, he was gone. I was sure it was a dream, but I was awake. Unless I'm still asleep. That would be a neat trick, wouldn't it? Shortly after that, I started noticing a change in my fights. I would deceive someone with what I thought to be a ridiculous idea, and they bought it. It was like I could talk anyone into doing anything. Shadows started listening to my commands. I once had a guard shadow tell me a secret about the guard's behavior when his wife was away. Later, I discovered that they were true. His wife found out and left him. I never saw him after that. Anyways, using my newfound abilities, I started being allowed more freedom within the Dragon Empire. I used my faces to change the tides of battle. I convinced, that's not how you spell convinced. I convinced a mayor to join his city into the Empire, and I even once tricked a troll to fight his own shadow. The longer I had my abilities, the more I had started to question the motives of the Empire. I started using their guys to have some fun of my own. I thought, if they're as powerful as they say, they'll stop me. And I haven't been stopped yet. As long as I push some people their way every now and again, and they leave me be, I don't trust them anymore, and I have decided that I'm going to use them to destroy them. That will be my greatest trick. Maybe then I can find my mother. I can't go yet. I may have the freedom to move as I please, but I fear the Empire will do horrible things to her if I try to find her. I started leaving a trail behind. Everywhere I go, I leave a pinch of sand. I don't know if it will, but I hope that I will leave enough sand behind to one day find her again, safe. Until then, I will use my skills to blend in and do what I can to fight against those that stole me from my home. For now, my face is the one of this dragonborn. Patron Lompash. Pat, for short. Pat the dragon. Get it? Okay. Now I have to go. Now that I've gotten you all caught up, I'm going to head into this bar and see what tricks I can pull. And then that's when I joined the party.
Right. I mean, like, there's a lot there that if I was everybody plays D&D differently. That's very quickly what I'm coming to the idea of. And there is a balance to be done between encounters and between role play. My thing is I think my style is much more role play heavy, at least in terms of like character interactions, things like that. Yes, encounters are definitely a very fun part. It can be a very stressful part, particularly when they're designed to kill you. But
it wasn't intentional.
It was definitely intentional.
Okay, so I thought for sure that you guys could handle. Wait, no, are we talking? We're not talking about the same thing.
Either one will work.
No, I was thinking about the mini session I just did with Monkey and Foxy, where I almost killed them.
Oh,
for some reason my brain was trying to tell me that was you, but that was not you.
I was.
Okay. No, you're talking. Which one are you talking about?
Okay, so I was talking about the machines,
Giants?
The machines from last.
That one.
Yeah.
No, they're not designed to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
They were designed to incapacitate you.
Yeah, they certainly did that.
Did you not hear them? They said so.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he makes a neutered version of the Dalek, and it's just annoying as all get out.
I didn't make them. I just used them.
He made a neutered version of the Dalek, where and he's literally going, incapacitate, intruders, incapacitate. And it's like, come on. I know exactly what you're doing. You can't sneak that one by me. And then
I haven't even watched Doctor Who.
I haven't watched Doctor Who. Boy, we both feel as nerds, don't we?
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
Mostly me, though.
Actually, probably less so you, because you don't claim to be as high. You just said earlier you don't claim to be as high a level of nerd as I am. If I am this high level of nerd and I haven't seen Doctor Who, I'm clearly failing somewhere along the line.
Okay, I'll get on board with that.
Okay, so, but anyway, yeah, that's neither here nor there. I like the idea of going somewhere with the backstory. I don't know, like, where you...
Hold up, I just want to point this out. So you posted this article in the World Source Podcast Interaction channel.
Yes.
On your Discord, and the first thing that says is, at this rate, based on your post, this is gonna be a 3-hour podcast. Oh wait, no, make that 4.5 hours because you guys haven't talked about D&D and the Muppets yet.
And I'm like, you're already late, pal. We started with the Muppets and we're moving on. Yeah, this will be good.
Oh, I love you, Sass.
You are the best. Someday we may have you. We'll have to have you on as an actual guest. We'll figure out a way to do that.
Yeah.
How that'll work, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. So my mentality, like, as a DM, if the few times I've been there, I have been trying to push people. I tried to push my players into doing those kind of interactions. People that I was DMing for were not interested in those interactions at all. So the last session that we did, where when I was a DM, was when we went into that tower and they encountered the wizard who was under the control of the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, let's kill him. I'm like, which, I mean, was an option, but number one, it was getting kind of late. And also, I'm like, do I really want to just do this? Because I want these people to try and figure out what's going on here rather than just kill the wizard. That doesn't seem like it's going to do anything good and positive. So, like, I specifically said, I prevented myself from saying, okay, roll for initiative. Don't do that. Like, I'm going to wait for one of these idiots to try and kill him first. And thankfully nobody did. And we actually got through a semi-legitimate roleplay session where they actually had to figure it out. Oh, the wizard is being possessed, and this is the situation. You have to perform the exorcism, or at least let the ghost know that he is a ghost and not actually the person that he thinks he is. And I thought that went pretty well. That was also the last session that we did. So, mixed results.
How well did it go, Gavi?
You know, from my perspective, that went about as well as I could have hoped for in terms of getting people to actually engage with the story, as opposed to just being, okay, where's the next thing that we go hit? I mean...
Yeah, murder hobos, yeah.
Yeah,
I got you.
and it's like, I mean, and not like they were absolute murder hobos, because murder hobos just like to kill everybody, but like they wanted to be lawful murder hobos, where they're just presented with an endless stream of cannon fodder to wade their way through. And I'm like, that doesn't really seem like something that I want to do, because I want people to actually, I want the story to move on. In case people haven't figured it out from listening to any of these, Sass, I know that you're the only one listening, but in case, hey, Friendly might be here too. Friendly, if you're here, in case you haven't figured out from any of the things that I've talked about before in any of the other episodes, I'm really big on story and narrative. Really, 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 really big on story and narrative. That's like my driving force. I want to be engaged with the characters, with the story, with the narrative, with the direction that things are going in. And when that doesn't happen, it's a little bit frustrating for me sometimes. I understand that, and not even so much understand, but like encounters and stuff should be used to move that story forward, not just to be like, oh, you haven't hit anything in 20 minutes, here, hit something else. I've like one of my favorite sessions we've had so far was one that I had very little to do with from our Sunday night game was the one where
the date night,
and not just
I think that's everyone's favorite session so far,
and not just because that was the best date I've been on in 6 years, but that's and I wasn't even technically on the date. I was just listening in, which doesn't sound any better, but but like there was so much interaction, so much role play, and thankfully Friendly at that time was tripping high off of every kind of incense, which was also amazing. That was such a great night because and the thing is, we've kept that going. Every time we need to do a divination or something else that involves incense, we're like, wait a second. Brachion, you gotta go. Step back 30 feet at least, because we're about to light this stuff up here, and we can't deal with you being crazy right now. I mean, and it's created a camaraderie and a joke area where that's not part of the game, but it works within our narrative, and it really helps to, build up the group dynamic and the pathos that can happen from one episode to another. I really, really like those little injectures and things that can happen in that regard. So, like...
For those that are uneducated, please define pathos.
Pathos?
Yeah.
It's like the... Well, there's a lot of different... So pathos is kind of the emotional push behind stuff. To use Webster's... or actually dictionary.com because it's more available. It actually refers to a quality that evokes pity or sadness, but really it's more the idea that anything that can draw out a emotional response. That's more what I was going for. Something that can actually engage more than just your mind in numbers saying, okay, well, if I have X amount of probability to hit on this cause with this weapon causing this much damage, I'm like, okay, there's a place for that, and math nerds love it. I kind of like that too. It's a lot of fun. It's a great draw in and of itself. But in terms of actually like being there part of the game, you need to have there's a place. This might be part of my wannabe actor's mentality, where I want to transcend the point of being just someone who is playing a character and is like guiding them around like a little puppet on a string, versus allowing the character that I'm controlling to actually make decisions on their own, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to make decisions based on like, okay, well, this is what would be best for my character. I want my character to be like, no, this is how I would react to the situation.
Yeah.
So
on that note,
okay,
we did a one shot this past Wednesday with Bramble.
Okay.
And I created a chaotic evil character.
Okay.
Because that just seems like the fun thing to do, is create a chaotic evil character.
Okay.
And his whole thing was, I'm in it for the money. I do whatever I can to reach the payday at the end of the goal.
Okay.
And which I kind of went a little bit on the chaotic side, a little bit, because there was one instance where we had talked this group out of fighting, and I attacked them anyways.
I like where this is
and
going.
then the rest of the party just sat back and let me fight with them, and I was banished. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I thought, the video games where you have a group of do-gooders with you, but if you attack a guard, they're going to help you defend yourself against those guards that you attacked.
Right.
That's what I was kind of thinking was going to happen. It's like, oh, I attacked this thing, and they're like, I thought they would be like, oh, I guess we're fighting this, and they would jump into. They didn't jump into. And so I got banished, and I thought, okay, I'll just make a new character.
Okay.
And then, like, in the middle of making a new character, the rest of the group talked the guys that banished me into
letting you come back?
No. Into killing themselves, basically.
Well, that sounds just wonderful. Like,
well, there was a wall that you had to say the password to get past, and if you didn't say the password, you took a crap ton of damage.
Gotcha.
And so they were like, hey, do you know what the password is? And that person would go up and say what they thought the password was, and it would be wrong, and then they would die from the damage. And they did that to everybody that was in the room.
It's just like one of those.
And then they were like, so, since that person's dead, does that mean Masters gets to come back? And he was like, yes, it does. And so my character came back, but I had already started my new character. So I came back, and we had already gotten an object that was worth 80,000 gold. Wow. And I had it on my person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they
and
really
so,
wanted you back.
And so I came back into it, and I was like I was role playing, like I was about to sell it, and then I got poofed back. And I was like, oh crap! And one of the guys said, I tried to take it from his hand, and I was like, you can try. It's like my guy has a +5 on strength, and my athletics is a +13. You can try,
right?
And he rolled a 26. And then I rolled a 26. And since he was opposing me, I had to beat him. So my score that matched his beat him.
Right.
But then somebody had casted guidance on him, so he got at least a +1 onto that. And so he beat me. And so he took this basically 80,000 gold out of my hand. And my character's whole thing is I will do whatever it takes to get the payday.
Right.
So I attacked him. And the entire party ganged up on me.
That's fair.
And killed me. Barely. Like, I almost killed him the first go around before he even got a chance to react. But the other party helping him out got me killed, which I was fine with. Yeah. But Bramble was having no part of it. He was like I said, I attack. Like I didn't even say it. I just rolled attacks, and he was like laughing. He was like, "Are you attacking me?" I was like, "Yeah, my character is attacking you. This is what he would do." And Bramble was just like, "Yeah, I'm having no part of this." Like he literally just sat there and wouldn't even do the turn tracker for us.
Wow.
Yeah. But then after that, that was when he put the thing in the Discord that was like, from now on, no players are to attack other players.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for that kind of rule. That should be, in general, that should be understood. But I'm on your side for this one. If you have, and I'm assuming that this is not going to be like a long-term campaign.
No, it was a one-shot.
Yeah, I mean, like.
Yeah, and we were having fun. Like the guys that beat me to a bloody pulp, they were having fun too.
Yeah,
it was just Bramble was just not into it.
Like if it's
he felt like it was slowing down gameplay. It was taking too long. It's like, dude, we're just having fun. But if that's why you want to rule it, that's fine. Yeah. From now on, we won't be doing that. That's okay with us.
Like if it's a one shot, like that is the time to do crazy stuff like that. That's when that's when some of the best stories come out, as opposed to be like. Rest in peace, Barkham. But,
yes.
As opposed to being like, if I mean, as weird as it is, because there's clearly something that's going to happen to Rezo at some point, and probably should. But it's like if something happens to Rezo, I'm gonna be like a little messed up about that because like, hey, that's what he does. He is. I mean. I'm very invested in that character because I put the time to be invested in that character. For one shots, I'm a little broken. I'm a little messed up that I can't keep going with Barkham because I was having a lot of fun with his voice for all of about 13 seconds. But thank God for FIPU. But like for one shots and things that are one offs that aren't really going to be anything like long term, not that big, not that invested. If something starts to happen, if you're going to have a character death, you should be invested in it to the level that you were invested in the game. It's a one shot. If your character dies, you don't care. If it's a full-on campaign with multiple weeks and months and years, how long it takes to go by, I feel like you should be sufficiently invested in that character to carry it through that period of time. Because if you're not invested in the character, you'll quit. Like,
yeah.
The campaign at some point will do something. The DM will disagree with you. Somebody in the party will do something to just not quite mesh with what you think it ought to be. And if you're not invested in the character, you're not going to make it through to the end. That's my general assumption.
Yeah.
You've got to have a goal for your character to accomplish that you want to see them, fulfill. Rezo's right now is evolving a lot. The more we talk about it, the more fun it is. I actually just had a really fun thought about this last night. as I was trying to go to sleep, which is not a good sign because I shouldn't be thinking about D&D just before I go to bed. But it came up to my mind. We talked before about what to do. And Friendly, if you're watching, now is a good time to skip ahead a certain period of time. We're not sure how long, but some point in the future, in case you want to avoid spoilers for Rezo. But assuming that is the case.
You haven't put this warning on any of the other ones.
I actually gave him the timestamp of the last time we talked about future events for Rezo, on episode 9, I think it was. Like I said, from this time to this point, if you want to avoid spoilers, get out of here. Just skip from here to here, and you should be good. But in terms of Rezo, my thought is, well, what if we just so the idea was to have him get arrested, go to trial. He loses. He's going to jail. He tries to get away.
Oh no, the trial was before you made it clear to me that Rezo had committed mass murder against the King's army.
I don't know how you missed that.
Not really
point.
The King's army, but
yeah, well, some army. Yeah. I'm not. I still don't know how you missed that part. It was clearly said he killed everybody with his gigantic.
Yes, I understood that you slaughtered an army that was opposing the
village of cannibals,
the city that you were living in. And I was like, okay, that's a reasonable thing for you to do. I don't know why anybody would be upset about that. but when you frame it into the mindset of no, this was they were in the right here.
Yes.
Yeah, there is no trial.
Oh, okay.
At that point.
Okay, so this is working out. Great. So he's just going straight to prison or hard labor. So my thought was, if we're going to be invoking duplicity on this guy, and I have to do some, haven't done the research yet because I just had this thought last night. I've been busy all day, but I haven't done the research yet to figure out how it worked. But my thought is, if we're going to invoke duplicity and then a goddess, which one we haven't decided yet, and if a goddess decides to invoke life into the duplicate, and that one just kind of comes back to the party as Rezo, in quotation marks, I think that one should be multi-class, so that he's like a lower level cleric, but he's multi-class with like maybe a warlock, because then he'd be having a lot of power coming directly from whichever deity that is, because they basically just created a new character. I don't know how that works with the setup and everything, but like that'd be like it'd be making a whole new character who's exactly the same but totally different.
No. So you would keep the same character,
right?
Same character stats. It would just be on your subsequent level ups, you would level into warlock.
Okay, so I was thinking like do a complete reroll on him so that
no, you wouldn't completely do a new character sheet.
I kind of wanted to do that because I had some thoughts on that one, but
no, that would be too broken.
Okay, I'm just thinking, yeah, and then like at some point later on down the line when he encounters himself, yeah, that depending on how this goes, depending on like which goddess we align him with, that could be so much fun. Either as playing the new one or as old Rezo coming back to be like, hey, I've come to get a small piece of myself that appears to have been palling around with you guys. I want him back. That could be fun. Or bad, really, really bad. One of those two. Probably both. But yeah, it's just one of those really cool ideas. I'm like, oh, well, what if we did have a person who was able to split themselves into two people, and then like one of them literally became like a messenger of the gods, and the other one was like totally shunned. That could be a lot of fun. Because I don't know, I'm gonna work on you a bit on this one, because I think creating a quotation mark Rezo would be a much better idea, because technically he's just coming into existence at that point. And then don't tell anyone, but have that be like his secret. Either he doesn't know, or he does know and he doesn't want anyone else to know. So he has another layer of mystery added to him. And then just see if anybody else in the party realizes that Rezo's different. I just think that'd be fun.
It would all depend on what his alignment was. Because
as soon as
if he came back and he was evil, then absolutely. Because Fang can just snap a finger and detect good and evil.
Well, you see, here's the beauty of it. Rezo, as he is now, is lawful neutral. And he's lawful neutral because he has no alignment for anything else beyond service to his goddess. And if there was to be a quotation mark Rezo, then I think that alignment would stay the same, whichever goddess it is. Because his whole point at that point would simply be to provide service to his goddess, whichever one. And then it would just be up to the rest of the party to figure out, like, wait a second, did the cleric just cast Fireball? Or whatever spell it is? Is he supposed to be able to do that? I don't think so.
It's like, wait, why did he just summon a sword? Where'd that come from?
Well, I'm doing that already, but...
Are you?
I have a spiritual weapon.
That's not the same thing.
It can be.
No, it can't be.
We'll agree to disagree.
No, summon a sword like Silas summons a sword.
Oh, okay. Can warlocks do that?
Yes, they can.
Didn't know that.
The subclass that he is a fighter pulls from the Tome of the Pact of the Blade that warlocks get.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of cool things that could be done here if he gets kind of like.
Yeah, it would probably be best for you to go Pact of the Tome if you went warlock, which you could also go paladin and just go Oathbreaker.
That would be assuming that I'm aligned with Bishaba.
Not if you were Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker is the evil paladin.
Yeah, that would be assuming that I would be aligned with Bishaba.
Oh, Bishaba. Well, you wouldn't go warlock and be with the other one.
Why not?
Because it's a warlock. Warlocks are inherently not evil, but warlock is almost the exact opposite of cleric.
Okay. I'm still not seeing a problem here.
Well, you're the goddess that you're. Well, if you were still serving the same goddess, why would you multi-class at all?
Because there would be a much greater amount of like spiritual power that would be coming directly from them as a part of the contract with like that goddess giving this quotation mark Rezo his life. That would definitely be, in my mind, a point for multi-class where it's like, hey, because in my understanding,
well, yes, but only if you swapped your allegiance.
There's two schools of thoughts on this, and I'm the one who has both schools of thoughts. So, because I've been thinking, but this is something that I've been thinking about. So if I align with Bishaba, you're 100% correct. Then yes, that would be correct. If I align with Tamora, it would be as though she was completely abandoning standard Rezo and giving all her support behind quotation mark Rezo.
Yeah, but that wouldn't change him into a warlock.
Well, I think it would lend itself more to him being, and the thing is, he doesn't have the strength to be a paladin. He's -1, but it would, what in my mind, which I may be incorrect on this, but warlocks derive their power from some other being, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, his very life force comes from some other being. He is a spell enhanced specifically by another being. By channeling the power of this other being, he was brought into existence, and that other being said, I will take more of this than intended, and I will just start to use this as my vessel.
You can spin it however you want, but I don't think. No, because there is the. Hold on, let me find.
We're going deep into game mechanics and lore right now, and
Here we are. There is the celestial being for warlocks.
Okay.
Yeah. So, your patron is a powerful being of the upper planes.
Okay.
For which she would qualify. So, and it stays in the light of healing.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah. If that's the way you want, I mean, I'm not going to stop you. That's your character.
I mean, I'm still going back and forth because I'm
just trying to help you flesh out your reasoning behind it.
I say we're clearly several weeks away from being anywhere near this.
You say that, but you don't know what this party's going to do.
This is true, but I mean, we're probably at least
This is the party that went to the library to research one specific person and then left the library having not researched a thing about him.
You know, that's true.
And you did not realize it until almost the end of the session. You guys were like, wait, so who did anybody research this guy that we specifically went to the library to research? Nope.
That was no fun. Why would we do that? But yeah, just like I said, I'm just trying to work through. I'm approaching this from a strictly narrative sense, and I'm trying to find out I'm trying to find a way to make the rules fit the narrative. I personally think it would be a lot of fun, because, and wouldn't that be just that? I think quotation mark Rezo does work better as coming from Bishaba, because that would fit very well into his it would match with his backstory. He gets in a tight situation. He doesn't know how to get out of it. He almost curses using the name Bishaba.
That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm more concerned with is that why would Tamora do the thing that you're trying to do?
Like I said, the only way,
what would be her reasoning behind doing it?
Well, that her cleric has totally abandoned her and that she's just done with him.
Yes, but why would she not? If he's abandoned her, why would she not just abandon him? Why would she use his duplicate to carry out some sort of mission?
Mm-hmm.
Why? But for Bishaba,
it makes more sense.
However you say it.
Yeah, Bishaba.
Huh?
Bishaba.
It would make sense because she's like, oh, well, he was kind of turning to me, but now, he's locked away and he'll never get another chance. So why not use this last ditch effort to, truly turn him to my side?
Well, even beyond that, Rezo doesn't have to change sides at that point. Rezo could actually go through redemption arc at that point and come back as the good guy, because if it does come through Bishaba, he curses under his breath. She is a trickster goddess. She's the goddess of misfortune. So he channels divinity and calls upon her to try and find some way to get out of this bad situation. He invokes a duplicate, and she runs off with the duplicate and leaves him stuck there.
Exactly. Precisely.
And then he comes back.
That's the part I was having trouble with.
And then he comes back on a revenge mission to be like, this has got to stop. Like, I can't have, I've already got a bad enough name as it is. I can't let it get any worse with her running around with my duplicate doing Lord only knows what. I think that is probably a better way to go with it. So yeah. So again, it's all from the
Friendly. You can come back now.
I'll have to check timestamps or something and let him just put that in the description. Friendly, check out at this point, come back in at this point.
Yeah, but he's listening on the audio.
You can put a description on all the audios.
Can you?
Yep. I didn't do that for like the first 9 episodes because I'm lazy, and but so like there is description there, but it's all the same description for like the first 9 episodes, except for the after show because that one needed a little bit of extra explanation because it just did. But all of them have just a little snippet at the bottom to be like, yeah, this is what's going on. Yeah, and actually it's at the top, so it's right at the top. Yeah, good stuff, more or less. It's us, so limitations on good. Ooh, what's ooh?
Ooh?
Ooh? You're saying ooh, I'm trying to figure out why.
No, I said good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Good.
Who got good? But yeah, so
that's a Gouda cheese right there.
Just want to kill you right now. So yeah, this is kind of like my idea. This is how I approach things in D&D. Everything has to come from a character basis. Even at the point where Rezo got half his life sucked away by the night hag. Like, he just didn't tell anybody about that. And that was an in-character decision because as a person who felt great remorse for all the stuff that he's done, he's like, well, maybe I'm not worth saving. And so he had to kind of mentally come to the understanding, and then when the power finally came available to him to cast Greater Restoration, then he cast it on himself, and it was back to full health.
Which you never said out loud.
I didn't, but I thought it was communicated at some point.
Oh, you never communicated that. I did not know that information.
Well, now you do. It happened like a month ago. So
I mean, it does not matter to me one bit.
Yeah, like it has not affected gameplay in any way.
No. Nope.
In fact, the only way that it would have impacted gameplay is if I hadn't done it. So, and then only maybe. I don't think he's taken that much damage. Okay, he took some in the last.
You guys haven't fought that much.
Well,
since
he actually got down to like 15 or something in the last session, which would have probably killed him if I hadn't done Greater Restoration weeks ago. But yeah, he's back up to full fighting strength. And he's had enough long rest that's not really an issue either. But yeah, that was an in-character decision for him to be like, this is my burden to bear. Maybe it's a cost, put upon me by Tamora for all the things that I've done. Maybe I just have to bear this. And then it's like, well, no. Then a good thing happens, and he learns a new spell, and he's like, okay, well, I guess that she is still watching out for me, and he makes that in-character decision. So,
yeah, that's one thing. Like the whole Silas is a werewolf thing.
Yeah, that
happened, and they were so worried I was going to just take over his character. It's like, no, this is his choice. It's still his character. He's just a werewolf now.
Yeah.
It's like, but if that had been me, like, I almost felt like they forced the Greater Restoration on him to cure him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if that had been me, absolutely not. Do not cure me. I want to be a werewolf. I want to see where this goes. Kind of like out of character. I want to see where this goes. But even in character, the characters that I make generally would 100% be on board with that aspect of their life.
Well, I mean, even for him, he's a hunter and he's a tracker, and now he has the ability to sniff out his prey.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like it would be kind of useful. Do I really?
Yeah.
Are the negatives sufficiently outweighing the positives? I mean, sure, one night he might bite Calliope, but I mean, it's probably not a bad thing either. At least she won't turn into a sheep that night.
Or maybe that's the reason he bit her, is because she did.
Tasty mutton chops. But yeah,
I had mutton chops in high school. I wasn't allowed to grow a beard, so I had mutton chops.
I sent you the picture.
It was my protest.
I sent you the picture of my mutton chops, which was also my 6-hour protest. I had them for all of 6 hours, and then I had to shave them off. But Asher says the beard has to go. Well, it's gone. He didn't think that was funny. I still do. In fact, I showed some other people that picture today, and they were like, "Yeah, he was right." I'm a bad person. I keep saying this. People don't believe me.
I believe you.
You do, but like most people, they're like, "Oh no, he's this great guy." Now I have to do some editing on that. Darn it.
Editing on what?
I said my name.
Oh.
It's not like it's a big surprise, but it was there. Just kind of slipped out. Oh well. You guys won't hear it. Oh yeah. So yeah, like this is my mentality for character building. This is why it's so important to me, because to me it's more fun when you have those character decisions that don't necessarily play out in the best that don't come out with the best results, but that have a much more defined impact on the story as it goes forward. It's just a much more engaging, interactive experience than just being like, okay, well, I roll 2d20 and come up with this result, and it's like, well, I think there should be much more intelligent writing behind it, as much as we can, because that's what really draws. I mean, not that anything that we do in D&D or anything else like that is going to get into any kind of public sphere of notice or influence, but it is the good writing, the good characters, the things like that, which have caused the things which have gotten into the public sphere of influence to be so well regarded. It's through good writing, good character, good development, good story arc, good character arc, all these things. Nothing like everyone loves to root for the underdog. Everyone loves to hear a good redemption story. Everyone loves to see like the terrible villain defeated. And none of these things can happen with any kind of weight if they're poorly written or they're poorly conceived or they're poorly acted out. And so to a certain extent, because D&D is such a powerful interactive tool, what you can do with that is that you can, for a moment, you can make yourself a part of somebody else's entertainment experience. And that is such a powerful thing that D&D has available to it. And really all role-playing games, but this is the one that I've been playing. I haven't tried anything else yet. We'll get there. But I really...
The night is young.
The night is young. Actually, there's some talk right now. My new pastor is apparently against D&D. We haven't had that conversation yet. We probably will at some point. I know that he doesn't like it, or at least he said some people. At least he has specifically attributed certain people at our church should not play it, and that could be for any number of reasons. I can probably think of a couple of those reasons just specifically for those people. I understand that some people get way too involved with it. There's an argument to be made that I've gotten too much into it because we are now going on an hour of us talking about it. But that being said, there is a push, like a small groundswell of people at the church who are like, well, we can't do D&D, but like, what if we could get like a Star Wars game together? Because we're all huge Star Wars nerds.
It's still D&D. You can skin it however you want. It's still D&D.
I know. But like, as long as there's not like,
That's why I tried to get my parents to do it with me when I made it the Disney themed one. It's like it's still D&D. It's the same exact concept.
Yeah.
It's just the skin is all that matters.
But like if we could reskin it enough so that we didn't have like, wizards and sorcerers and magic and things like that, we could just replace all that with the Force. I think we could have I think we could get him on board. And like he's a big enough of a Star Wars nerd that we could probably get him to play too, but I don't know how to make that.
Yeah. There's a whole thing.
Yeah.
StarWars5e.com. SW5e.com. There's already a rule set and everything.
That is very useful information. I'm going to type that in right now so I don't forget it for later. SW.5e.com.
SW5e.com.
All right. 5e.com. All right. That will
It's a completely free resource.
Awesome.
And the and the character sheets are built into Roll20.
Awesome. This is... Ooh, there's even one here that says join the dark side.
And there's character sheets and stuff for spaceships and everything.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Classes will probably be the big one we have to work on. But, yeah, this looks like fun. Oh, yeah. We can make all of this work. Oh, yeah. This might be a thing now. And...
Especially since somebody's already done the work for you.
Oh, yeah. Like, this now could definitely be a thing. Lightsaber forms, force powers, check powers. Okay, yep. Thank you, Masters. I'm probably now going to start DMing a game. I'm sorry you're not invited. It's gonna be in person. There will be pizza.
So this is what they do, what Monkey and them do on Monday nights.
Okay. I still haven't watched any of that. Probably because I've heard about the setting and I'm just upset about it. Like I know where to go to watch it, but I'm like 10,000 years before the old. I just can't. Did they ever include your character?
No, but they've included some of my information
About where Nalhutta was, or
no. Oh, but I did ask JC that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was in one of the streams I was in one day, and I said, "Oh, by the way, can you tell me where Nalhutta is?" And he was like, I think it's in the southeast area of the map, somewhere in the outer rim. But I was like, yeah, that's about right. That's where it's at. I was just wondering. He was like, why? And then I had to explain our whole conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of those absolutely useless skills where you're just like, oh, I know where this is in a fictional universe or a fictional galaxy in a fictional universe. It's here it is in Galactic North. Oh yeah.
I just want it to be known that I have not found a single diamond.
You know, that's a problem for you, not for me.
Lots of iron, though.
Iron. Anyway, super main ultimate point is life is complicated and I hate everything.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. It just seemed to fit. If I'm wrong, I apologize. More or less.
So how did your week go? Do anything exciting? How's the new lady that doesn't exist?
Well,
or could exist? I don't know. It's been a week.
It's a great question. So, well,
we've already talked about the universe and everything, so we might as well go back to life.
Universe and everything. Well, I guess we're getting back in relationships. Here we are. Sass, you were right. So, I told you on Tuesday that I got convicted, like really bad, when I was at her father's church because she delivered the message. And like one of my big things was like, hey, she's not particularly expressive when she speaks. And she delivered the message and she wasn't particularly expressive when she speaks. And then we get this other very wizened statesman of a minister who was visiting to honor her father because it was his 27th year anniversary for being in ministry. And he says, you know, I really appreciate young lady giving the message today and all this wonderful things. And, you know, it wasn't like one of those jump up and hoot and holler kind of things. And I'm like, you betcha. And he goes, but it was actually, you know, I didn't say that. I thought it. Not proud. I have problems.
Yes,
I have real problems. And he goes,
yes, you do.
And he goes, it wasn't, one of those jump up, hoot, holler kind of messages, but it was definitely one that was anointed and given under the unction of the Spirit, which for people who are like me, was 100% accurate and also kind of it's very important. It's like the most important thing. It doesn't matter the presentation. It matters about how anointed it was. It matters about how much it is effective at changing the hearts and lives of people. And to that extent, yeah, pretty darn effective. It's a great message. I have to admit that. Everything that she said was like, yep, I agree. Amen, sister. And so I'm like, it was one of those things where it's like, just like a big slap in the face where it's like, as much as people can believe, because I'm not going to say that all people are like me, because I tend to believe that God is very involved in our personal lives. And to that extent, it felt like he was very involved in that moment. Like he's, just like, so that thing that you have a problem with? Yeah, I'm telling you to let that go, kind of thing. Just
let it go. Let it go.
Now I want to kill you again. I just thought of something. Well, I didn't just think of it, but I thought about it again.
Diamond. Is that what you thought about?
Nope. In terms of female voices and things like this. Into my backstory for this new campaign we're about to be embarking on, I have written into it a very important female character who I am now going to have to listen to you voice act.
If she ever comes up, yes, you will.
At which point, I'm pretty sure my general reaction will be, well, screw her. Just let her go. Not worth it. Don't know.
Oh, baby. Come and get me.
Yeah, you didn't read that at all, did you? I mean, you did, but yeah.
Yes, she's a satyr. I understand.
Mm-hmm. I just for
Toro.
No. Like, just one more touch on this. I included artwork for, not my artwork that I stole from other people. Plagiarism at its best, really, for these ancillary characters in my character's backstory. That's how far I went. Not saying I'm proud of it, but I kind of am.
I don't lie to the people.
I guarantee you nobody else did that. Yeah. And of course, never mind. That's not going down that rabbit hole on this.
I am very confused right now.
Yeah, I was about to make a comment on what I was.
No, that's not what I'm confused about.
Oh, okay. Well, forget that then. So anyway, I get very convicted about my own personal prejudices, and I'm like, okay, well, let me think about this some more. And so, like, the whole rest of the day, while I was there, which was several more hours, because it's one of those churches that you just can't, like, service ends and you leave. You stick around for like 4 hours afterward because you do. And so for like the whole rest of the day, it's like I was in that mind frame, and so I was like trying to talk to her. And every time I try to talk to her, she's like off doing something else and like trying to do this and trying to do that. And it's like, headgummit, just sit. I'm trying to find out. Yeah. I'm trying to just. It was an odd moment.
I'm trying to determine our compatibility.
Yes.
Stop running away.
Well, that's the thing. I don't have to determine that. I've done a lot.
You don't?
No. Nope. Is
this the new Gav I'm speaking to? Hello? Who is this?
So here's the thing. I've known this girl, like, I've known her for probably 20 years or more. But, like, I've actually, like, engaged with her and talked with her for about the last 11 or 12. So we quite frequently, over the past several years, past decade, have had long instances of conversation that we can build on. We mesh very well conversationally, which is one of my big, hey, we have to be able to sit down and have a conversation, an intelligent conversation where both parties are contributing, or I'm going to bang my head through a wall kind of thing. It's like, that's a non-negotiable. Like, that's even more of a, I mean, it'd be nice to have a nice voice on the other side so it's a pleasant conversation. But like, it's kind of like one of those non-negotiable kind of things. It's like, we have to be able to connect intellectually, or this is not going to work. She and I connect intellectually very, very well. And I realized there's another reason that I haven't ever considered her up until this point, and that is because every time that either of us have ever been in a position to perhaps start considering one or the other, and I do know that she has a certain amount of curiosity and inquisitiveness towards me in a romantic sense, and I know that because of a number of different things, not the least of which is my sister is like best friends with her, and they talk all the time, and that apparently has come up at some point. My sister just thought it was a brilliant idea to repeat that to me, and I'm like, no, it wasn't. That notwithstanding.
Yeah, my sister says I can't date any of her friends.
That's fair.
Mostly because she's 6.5 years younger than me.
I think you're probably good, but you know.
She says I can't date anybody that's younger than her.
I wouldn't care, but I don't care what my sister says to me anyway, so I really don't care what your sister says. Plus, my sister is older than me, so that would get really awkward if I was not allowed to date anyone who is younger than my sister. And my sister is like at the age now where pretty much everybody's given up on the idea that she's ever going to get married. She's still very convinced of the idea, but everyone who's like looking at the available evidence is saying like, yeah, she's probably just going to be single forever and ever and ever and ever. That last part.
My sister is also of that variety. She's never been on a date.
Well, she's 6 years younger than you, so she still has some time. So she's 6 years younger than you, which means
until you're dead, you have the time.
My sister's 9 years older than your sister. So,
like I said, until you're dead, you have the time.
That's true. But the older you get, the lower the probability becomes. And the less appealing your available options become. On either side. Which is kind of like my idea like at the beginning of the year when I was like, man, I'm going to be 30 before the end of this year. It would be very nice to have a committed regular relationship before I'm 30, because as soon as you start, that conversation with a nice 24-year-old girl and you say, oh yeah, I'm 30, she immediately just like ticks you down like 3 levels in her mind, like, oh, he's 30. Yeah.
Creep.
Isn't there a song about that? Like, I'm a creep or something?
Probably.
I don't know. I think I've heard it, but I don't remember the words, so I didn't hear it very much. So anyway, I do connect with this girl in an intellectual sense. I do connect with her in a spiritual sense. I do connect with her on a lot of things. And the reason that we have never really pursued anything, I think, up to this point is because, number one, I was having voice issues, and number two,
you're having what issues?
Issues with her voice. And number two,
is it with her voice or is it with her tone?
It's with her public speaking. That is probably the best way to put it. Her regular voice is acceptable. It's not like the greatest voice I've ever heard, but it's not something that makes me want to like pull my ears off.
I'm just imagining you telling your kids, yeah, you mean your mom almost didn't go out because I didn't like her voice.
I mean, there are a number of women who I will never say to my kids, I didn't go out to you with your mother because of her voice.
Fair.
That was the reason. No other one was necessary. I heard her voice one time and I said, I can't stay with that for every day for the rest of my life. That is just not going to work. And I mean, that kind of precludes the opportunity to ever tell their kids that, your mother and I did not get together because of her voice. Like I said, I mean, I don't really know how to describe it. She's got kind of like a low voice. But it's the kind of thing that like I've just now discovered as of last, Sunday 2 weeks ago, that she is actively trying to improve it. As it turns out, I'm very good at improving public speaking. You guys hear how bad I am now. Imagine this. I was worse. Much worse.
And who was it that just this week told you that maybe, just maybe, she could work on it?
This week?
I think it was last Saturday we were talking about this.
I don't recall.
I said, if only there was a process to where she could work on her public speaking and get better at it. And I think your exact words were, she's going to have to get a lot better.
You're not helping me here. You're really not helping me here.
Wasn't trying to help.
I know. So, yeah, I need to. Right now, my thought is I'm going to get in contact with her. I thought I was going to be seeing her on Monday, and then we could start things that way. But some of the group of people that we mutually hang out with may have gotten COVID, or at least they got tested for COVID, and so they're quarantining until Tuesday. So all the plans of mutuality for Monday have been canceled. So that makes life considerably more difficult, if you can imagine that.
What? Life being difficult? That's not on brand.
Curse you. Actually, it is on brand. There's even a song. Oh, life ain't never easy, no matter what you try. You try the best to make it, and still you up and die. It gets very dark very quickly. There's not really any place to go with that song either. So, I know, I've tried. I've really tried. It has a great opener, but when you get to die, it just ends. I guess this is the nature of death.
It dies.
Anyway, so I mean, it's
a little mood killer.
Every time. I am the fun sucker. That's an old reference. If anybody on this channel is still aware of the fun sucker reference, please comment down below, because I would be shocked to know that you are still hanging around through all the stuff that has happened between then and now. That would be absolutely amazing. Kuya, you don't count.
Crazy.
But yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like it may be a work in progress. We just gotta find time to communicate.
Work the progress.
What to who to what?
You said it may be a work in progress, and I said, and you said we just got to find the time to, and I said work the progress.
Oh yeah, that too. I was thinking more in lines of like Cool Hand Luke and the warden there. What we have here is failure to communicate, and we just have a failure to communicate. Like I said, in times past, we've had multiple opportunities to explore potential romantic entanglements.
But you had a problem with their voice.
Not just that. At every single opportunity we've had before, and I was thinking about this, we have been drawn in totally different directions. Like, totally different directions. The first time that we started talking,
and you moving churches isn't going to be a different direction?
I'm actually closer to her now than I was before.
Closer to her or her church?
Both. She lives next door to her church. She's the pastor's daughter.
So this is your new church?
No. This is actually my sister's church.
Ah.
If I tried to go out with either of my current pastor's daughters, he would kill me. Slowly. Very slowly.
Oh.
That's not, nope. Any kid any kid who I may have, and I say kid intentionally, any kid who was of proper age for me to have taught Sunday school to is not a viable option. I'm just putting that out there. And some of them are now of age to be a viable option. They are not a viable option. Absolutely not. Nope. Nip that one in the bud. Quickly. No. So the pastor of my sister's church, his daughter is the one. I didn't want to get that specific. Not that anyone from any church that's associated with me in any way, shape, or form is going to make it 11 episodes into this podcast and 3 hours and 10 minutes into the 11th episode to hear that. But in the off chance, shush. Oh, man. This podcast is a travesty. I'm glad we've renamed it.
It is now appropriately named. Oh my goodness, I walked all the way over here to put my enchanting table down and I left it in a chest. Now I'm going to go back for it.
Yeah, so this, like I said, it's going to be an awkward conversation because we've had a conversation before about how, like, we've had a conversation before about, oh, like, we can't ever really date because you're going off to Europe and I was going to Africa and then I was going to Greenland and she was going someplace else and then she was going to stay here and I was still going overseas and all this back and forth and now we're both like, yeah, we're both here in Michigan full time, not really plans to go anywhere. Nothing's happening. Maybe we should make something. Maybe we should make something happen.
So did you ever get to talk to her? Because I think you glazed over that part.
You know, not at all. like the extent of our conversation was like she would be looking at something very worriedly across the way, and I like catch her expression. I'd be like, "Hey, how do I address her in this quotation without saying her name? Because that's not something."
Let's see.
I got one.
She needs a good nickname. You're right.
This is not a good nickname, but but here we go anyway. Hey, sister, maybe future Sasquatch.
No. I was thinking Missy, but that's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Although I've started calling my sister Missy because she made a Mixer account and she named it Missy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that just ruins everything because that was what I was going to refer to my possible future as. Mm-hmm. And now it's this. So now you've taken it, so I can no longer use it.
Yeah, that's a problem. Be careful about prematurely. I say prematurely giving nicknames. The only girl I've ever been romantically involved with whatsoever that I gave a nickname to. Not that you're supposed to be naming people against, but like we were together for 3 years. What am I gonna do? What was the girl that I was together with for 3 years? And like now, it's like I can't ever call another woman that. It's like the ring thing. It's like the stocking thing. You shouldn't. Secondhand sentiment does not translate well at all.
Yeah, that's why Beauty and the Beast is now forever ruined for me.
Oh.
Yeah, because I was the Beast and she was the Beauty, and yeah, that's now forever ruined for me. I can never use that analogy on anyone ever again.
Okay, I gotta throw this out here because my hirsute nature has become to be somewhat well known, not just online but also in real life, or offline, as it were. And so there is a growing contingent of people who are aware of my hirsute nature and are in on the joke, as it were, and they are very much pushing for someday when whichever girl it ends up being, that at our wedding, she has to walk down the aisle to Taylor's Oldest Time.
Mm.
And I don't have a good argument against this.
I don't either.
So that's just free. Anyway.
Yeah, so actually on that note, now that I'm going for this whole Mad Hatter motif, what would I call in that same vein? What?
Alice.
No, because the Mad Hatter and Alice do not end up together.
Oh.
They are forever friend zoned.
Well, I know what you can call her once a month.
The Bloody Red Queen. Oh, demonetized.
Oh, I would apologize for that, but it was too good. I'm so glad you got
it. My edition of the bloody part was probably
nope. That was in mine too.
No. We are the worst people ever. Oh, world's worst podcast.
Oh man, we've paid for a year of these things. How will we ever survive?
How will everybody else ever survive?
Oh man. Oh, that's bad.
Oh, so bad it's good.
That was. Again, I should feel really bad about that.
Here's the line. Here's where that joke landed.
Oh man.
Here are your binoculars so that you can see what little speck is there.
Oh. Oh man, that was bad.
Oh, and this is why we're going to last a year, because we can have conversations like this.
Oh. Now see that would be a complication. Because if things do start to move forward, I have to convince this woman somehow that these can continue, and not just can continue, but that they should continue. And she's going to be like, well, let me listen to one. No.
You're absolutely not allowed.
You are banned. You're not allowed. You just have
at least not until we've stood our vows.
You just have to be aware that at certain point, that for like somewhere between 2 and 7 hours, once a week, I'm going to disappear, and you will never know what goes on during those 2 to 7 hours. I will soundproof the room. I'll put a soundproof box inside the room. Oh yeah.
Oh,
that's I'm sorry, that was too easy.
It really was. I was trying not to go there, but oh,
like you opened it up and I'm like, I can't not. It's
oh. Well, we've made it past the 3-hour mark when those kind of jokes start coming out.
Yep, that's true. Just thinking about this. I haven't streamed since Mixer died. I haven't streamed since like a month before Mixer died. No correlation at all. But I was thinking like a couple of days ago, I should stream, and just that was the first thought, and I'm like, well, what am I going to stream? I don't want to stream anything. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm like, wait a second, I should stream Joke Boat and invite Monkey.
Joke Boat?
Yeah, remember the one?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And invite Monkey.
We should totally do that.
Yes. I think Monkey would.
We need to get Monkey on the calendar now and just be like, hey, we're gonna do this. Mm-hmm. When can you do it?
Yes. Because I think Monkey would tear that up. That would be fantastic.
Oh, that would be great.
for those who aren't aware, Jackbox Games, Party Pack 6, there's a mini game in there called Joke Boat. It is fantastic. It becomes more fantastic after you've been playing it for 2 hours. Because at that point, you don't care.
Ooh.
Yes?
We stream it on your channel so that Monkey doesn't have to be family friendly.
But I have a family friendly.
No, you don't.
I have a mostly family friendly channel.
Yes, but Monkey is strictly family friendly.
I have a certain affinity for unsupervised episodes. At one point, Monkey was on board with me and D-Mill and Pyretic and like 3 other people to do a not family friendly at all night of poker, and that never happened, and I'm very salty about it still. Like that didn't even happen when I was in when I went out to visit those guys. Like we had a deck of cards. I mean, I guess we did have it with the pool table, which was fantastic in every possible way.
I'm still upset that I didn't get to cream you all at pool.
Hey, you could have come. We had room.
Yeah, but I didn't have availability.
You know, that's just poor planning on your part, I think.
Well, yes, but
you didn't realize it was going to be the social event of the year.
No, the social event of the year was when we went to Disney.
Okay. I don't know why I turned into Taz, but yes, I like Disney. Disney was a better trip, 100%. But I got to like, as much as the introverted me doesn't like being around a lot of people, I was around a lot of other introverted people, like a lot more introverted people that I generally like when I was, in New Hampshire. So it's not like, how do I say this without making Masters feel less special? Am I already failing that?
You can't fail that.
I can't fail that?
Nope.
Oh. I thought this was like one of those no-win situation questions like, do I look fat in this dress?
No, yeah. INTJ, remember?
Gotcha. So like, between the 2 trips, I dramatically enjoyed our trip to Disney much, much more. Dramatically more. But I also really like the interactivity of being together with a bunch of people who I've only ever known online and being like, oh, I get to meet all of these people right now. So I guess the novelty factor of being in a larger group of people that I already know but didn't know, I guess that would be one positive. But like they're very different trips. You can't there's no way you could compare them. Like, and it's really is apples and like cayenne chilies or something like that. Like it's not even apples and oranges. It's like it's one thing that's like kind of sweet and tastes good, and the other thing that will burn the roof of your mouth. I mean, and I'm not going to say which one is which in that analogy. But yeah, so it's like, I don't know. It's just life is different. Life is difficult. Why are you making me try to justify my life? Why can't I just be myself, Masters? Come on. Just let me go. How did we get there? I don't know.
I have no idea.
It's typically how it goes. Just one thing leads into another, which is why we used to be called something else. But presently, I think we've landed on a good one.
Yes, it suits us well.
So let me see here. What else can we talk about here? What else is on the agenda?
I don't know that I have anything else.
I have one other thing that I could get into, but I don't really have any details on it yet. So it's not really.
Which is?
So I just moved, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to have to move again.
Uh-huh.
It's how things are going to work, because my roommate's wife is going to come. They will have been apart for at least 18 months at that point. I believe I've said this before. I don't want to be here for that. I don't want to be on the other side of the wall from that or outside the apartment from that. I want to be very far away from that. Clear enough?
Yep.
Okay. The other thing, so I've been exploring options is to where I may go from here. And I have come up with what I think is a great idea. And I've talked with a couple of people about this already, not online. Not as though that was a dig against people who are online, but like people who are in the local area who could help me bring this about. I found an 8-acre piece of land, not too far from, like within 3 miles of the church I'm attending now. And this 8-acre piece of land is very inexpensive. Like, compared to everything else around it, it is almost criminally inexpensive. And I found a place that I can go to get a manufactured home to put on that for less than the land is. And with hooking up to utilities and making sure everything else is set up, I can get the entire thing, 8 acres of land, plus the house, plus all the other amenities and hooking up, things like that, for less than $150,000. And that's a really hard thing to turn down. I know $150,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in terms of like building a house, not so much. So that's kind of what I'm thinking I'm probably going to be doing. I just need a bit more money to make that happen. But there's also some things on the horizon that may give me the money that I'm going to need to make that happen. So yeah. I don't have the specific details, but like I have all the big pieces kind of in place. I have the potential for the money to buy the land, to buy the house, to put the basement in, to do all kind of stuff and just like make it happen. And then I can start digging out 100-yard range for my rifles. But I would certainly never do that within city limits, of course.
just rinse you out a backhoe for half an hour.
It'd probably take a little bit longer than that because I'm planning on going a little bit deep, like maybe 12 feet deep, so that it will funnel the sound straight up so that the neighbors don't hear. Big brain moves right here. Have you ever been to Washington?
DC?
DC.
Yes.
Okay. Did you go to the Vietnam Memorial?
Nope.
You definitely need to go back and go to the Vietnam Memorial. It is.
I agree.
There's
a lot of things I need to go back and do.
It is, in my opinion, one of the best designed memorials on planet Earth. I mean, it's very unassuming. It's not big and showy, but it's not really designed to be either. And what happens is you go down this path just outside the National Mall, and as you go down this path, it like drops you about 8 feet below street level. And what that does is it makes all the sound that's generated by the street to be unheard virtually inside the memorial. It's open topped. So it's not like there's a roof on it. It's just like you're below street level and there's high enough walls on both sides so that the sound just passes over you and you don't hear it. So it's incredibly quiet when you're down there. And then the walls are this polished marble. And in the marble, they have printed all the names of the people who died in the Vietnam War. And the polished marble is just polished enough that you can see your own reflection in there. And kind of the mentality behind it is that as you're reading off the names of the people who died in the Vietnam War, you are seeing a reflection of the people that they died, theoretically, in order to protect. And I'm like, this is a very, very, very well-designed memorial. I really like this. And that was kind of what gave me the idea for digging down a little bit so that the sound generated by a 7.62 by 54R cartridge doesn't get heard by the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
This is how my brain connects things. It's not the normal way. But yeah,
interesting.
I thought so. And legitimately going to Washington D.C. and visiting the Vietnam Memorial on its own merits is absolutely worth the time and the effort. I strongly recommend it. I mean, everything else in DC is fantastic too, but except for the people. But it's one of those things where you kind of wonder, would America just be better without? What? Oh my word, Masters! Why would you send that to me?
Because I just found it.
What?
Oh my goodness!
This is a family friend. And now I got to post it, you know.
No, you don't.
Oh yeah, we do. I think if I can get to it. My computer does not like this. Sass, who is watching that channel like a hawk right now, is about to be just disgusted with.
It's just a picture of two different chickens. I don't know what you're so entwined about.
You know, I made this special channel in my Discord for precisely these kind of moments, because we're talking about something that we're not going to properly describe in any way, shape, or form on the podcast. But for those who are curious, there is a channel. It is the World's Worst Podcast, whatever it is, I don't care. Interaction channel. I made it up. I can't remember the name. You can find that picture over there. I'm so sorry, Sass, that you had to get that without context. I mean, that's kind of how I got it too. So...
It doesn't need context. He gets it.
I mean, just... Wow. Okay.
Oh, funny thing is, Ducky just came online to see it.
Okay. Well, I think that just killed all intelligent conversation that might be happening.
We weren't having an intelligent conversation to begin with, Mrs. Bloody Red Queen. Oh.
Okay, so let's do this. Thank you everybody for watching, listening, tuning in on YouTube, on Spotify, on Amazon Music, on Podbean, wherever you may be listening into. Future additional podcasting platforms probably, maybe, possibly going to be added in the future, but not yet. We appreciate you for tuning in. If you have a topic that you would like us to discuss in an upcoming podcast or episode, please leave that in the comment or description, or not the description because that's my territory, not yours. In a comment down below or anywhere else, I will find them eventually. If you have a suggestion for a nickname that Masters can attribute to his lady friend in the future, you should give that to us too.
Very, very far distant future.
Preferably something that does not involve
murder.
A time-sensitive nature. Where you can only use it once or twice a month.
No, you could only use that once. Once.
Did you ever see the old Looney Tunes episode where like there's this dog who like breaks into a talent agent's office and he's like, I got the greatest trick of all time, and he keeps getting thrown out and getting thrown out and getting thrown out and getting thrown out, and there's all these other acts that are just underwhelming and unimpressive, and finally he breaks in and says, I got the greatest trick of all time, you have to let me show it. And like without asking anything else, he just like lights this gigantic firecracker and eats it and blows himself up, right? And the talent agent, I think it was Porky Pig, goes, well, that was the best I've ever seen. What was it? And the guy like comes back in as an angel. He says, I know it was the greatest, but there's one problem. I can only do it once. That's That's kind of one of those. You can try it, but you can only do it once. That being said, I still think it's funny. I'm a bad person, can I say? And apparently Masters is too, because I didn't even have to say it. He just picked it up entirely and ran with it. And that's not my fault. Mostly. But yeah, so if you have anything you'd like to discuss in future podcast episodes, if you have a nickname for Master's future lady friend, that would also be Squinty might be good. Although he might want them to be more Mad Hatter related than that.
Wait, what did you say?
Squinty.
Squinty?
Yep.
What? I don't understand that reference.
Well, I assume she has to be nearsighted too. Never mind.
Oh, that's just rude.
It's me. Is this a surprise, Masters?
There's a reason I have a beard.
That's very true. Oh Lord, Sass is now sending me worse things. Okay.
Have I said it yet tonight? I love you, Sass.
Okay. I did see the guitar one. We're not posting that. I have a line. I'm not sure if that's over it, but I have a line. We'll figure out where it is later. So thank you all for watching. We appreciate you tuning in to the World's Worst Podcast, where we mostly talk about Muppets and D&D and occasionally other things. It has been an interesting episode. I don't know if I necessarily enjoyed all of it, but it was... I suppose my enjoyment is not a contributing factor to your enjoyment. So otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here. No, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, right, Masters?
Always.
Oh yes, great time.
For us, at least.
Particularly the parts where you should not be laughing. Those are the best ones. So until the day that we all get kicked off of all of these platforms, we appreciate your viewership, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a great week. Goodbye.